What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Halloween edition of the ACL Fall 2024 split. I'm Constable Trundle. I'm joined by Quex and Shauna Toden for a very special kickoff to the 2025 Fall ACL. It's week 1A. It's the very first Friday of the season, and we've got Apex Mission Impossible taking on Respawn.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I've been looking for an excuse to dress up more than just the suits since forever, and this felt like the perfect occasion to do so. It's Halloween Day. Everyone is out trick-or-treating. We are in here, though, casting some banger League of Legends. That is our treat. And it's Respawn versus AMI, like you said, Gordo. Two teams that are really close in skill on paper. And before we went live, we were having some discussion on who we favor. And there were some mixed reactions, which really excites me because it's awesome to see these two teams going at it with similar, albeit different stories from one another.
Yeah, really excited for this one. Obviously looking like at Respawn, having some of their members are in NACL as AMI has, requalified into NACL with some new members on their team. So really, really excited for that. I think all of us, had most of these teams towards the top half, if not the first two groups of our ballots on the committee. So there's a lot of expectations here, but to start off the entire season with this, it's definitely a trick and a treat for sure.
For sure. Well, with that, it's a new season. We got plenty of new teams, 20 new teams to be precise here in ACL. Some returning folks, some brand new, and all sorts of new rosters to get acquainted with. So let's start on off with these two that we're going to be showing here tonight and bring them on up. In fact, Apex Mission Impossible starting off on the blue side. Perhaps the one roster that actually has not changed from last split. Even Cupid has changed. So it would really be just these guys. It's Decoy, Low Jazz, Retrozing, Baz, and Protos with Pocus as sub/coach. Very excited to see these guys come back into the ACL fresh off their victorious run in the NACL promotion tournament.
Yeah, and honestly, the core of Decoy, Low Jazz, and Baz, these guys have been together for a super long time. And up until recently, Pocus was a part of that, right? Obviously, Pocus is a sub, but he was a starter for a majority of this team's run. And now switching to that coaching role, which I still think is really valuable. You keep sort of that mental list of what the players are good at, what they can improve at, and overall, you understand your players going into every single match, every single series, and so you have a better handle on what to focus on each and every week. And then Retrozing, right? A lot of people looked at this guy in the promotion tournament as possibly the missing link for this AMI squad because they were in the NACL at the beginning of this year, but then they were, relegated out of it. Then they got Retrozing, and the question kind of is, was Retrozing the guy that could take them back to those heights? And he absolutely was. I think that he was one of the big stars of that promotion tournament, and it's going to be really cool seeing him go up against Samikin, a player who everybody has been high on specifically this year. The latter half, he really has been a top 3 mid laner in tier 2.
Yeah, I think Retrozing is kind of like the story for me as well, because I know you guys on the Salt Mine like to talk about that one team that Samikin was on, and then all the other guys like kind of split off and they're all doing well. That's kind of how I feel about Retrozing and Costa Gamers. When they were all together, you see like the likes of Retrozing and Aeon Crystal and all them kind of making their names on different teams and stuff like that. So this AMI squad, when they did go back down into the NACL like promo tournament for tier 3, tier 2, I was actually a bit worried for them, but they played really, really well. Decoy and Low Jazz on the top side have been really, really solid. And I think Protos is actually someone, I've been following from CeeLo for quite a while that I think has really, really improved and doesn't just kind of play these, niche support picks to kind of cheese out some wins or some eke out some advantages in lane. He still has that available, but he's become a more well-rounded player overall.
And then coming in on the other side, let's take a look at the opposition here. It's a new roster. This is going to be Respawned, sponsored by the famous Dr. Respawn himself. It's Geiger, Castle, Samikin, Nightstar, and Mixture. So 2 players you'll recognize from the NACL here in Samikin and Mixture. Also longtime competitors here in the ACL, but So some faces you'll recognize from sort of old school Dorado teams, Geiger,
Yeah.
Castle, Nightstar. These guys have played together in previous ACLs, but I think the addition of Samikin, who's on a big tear lately from the NACL playoffs all the way up until the current Cyto Combine, where he's also killing it, and Mixture, who's still, I think, a very hype up and coming support right now, really gives them that additional firepower that makes me excited about this team.
And Respawn actually has a lot of overlap between their players, particularly their top side minus Samikin and then Nightstar, because you think of Castleberry, Geiger and Castle were on that team. You think about Grandview, Castle and Nightstar both on that squad as well. These players have a lot of synergy that I think isn't nearly talked about a lot, and maybe one of the big worries that this team had was getting that cohesion down right from the get-go. These guys don't really need that. They have been playing together, or one or more of these players have played together in the past, so they know how to get that synergy down. The outlier, though, is Mixture, right? Mixture, really the biggest thing for him was getting on that Dorado squad and into the NACL for 2025. And I think pairing him up with Sushi was a really good choice, because Mixture historically, for me, has been really good at those roams. And Sushi is a player that does like to be a little bit more on the weak side, specifically in the laning phase. He plays those scaling picks. He plays things like the Ezreal, right? Nightstar, I feel, is a little bit of a different story. Nightstar likes to get his leads right from the get-go, so this might challenge Mixture to approach laning phase from a different angle, be a little bit less heavy influence on that top side.
Yeah, I do like the call out to the synergy that's already built in from Castleberry. I know Geiger was on Ember Foxes most recently, and that team kind of surprised quite a bit of us in the previous ACL split. So there's a lot of what most people might consider like underachievers, but like the star names are there. Obviously, you look to Samikin and Nightstar as like your two power horses, but for me, it is always the support jungle, and I'm really, really interested to see how Castle and Mixture work together, because Castle is not, I wouldn't call him a full clear merchant, but he is just so good at optimizing his clears and being at the right places at the right time. And if he can link up with Mixture, I think they can start running this entire game.
Yeah, I think that the synergy between Mixture and Castle is a pretty underrated factor of this, and something that can influence Samikin, right? Like Gordo mentioned, this has been a guy who on the Cyto Combine is probably one of the best performing mids at that current tournament combine showing, whatever you want to call it. And a large part of that is because of his style. And I feel like a lot of players know what Samikin likes to do, know how he likes to play, and can adapt to that very easily because his play style is so well known in this scene. So I think it's going to matter for Castle and Mixture to bounce off each other because of how it will influence Samikin, how it will influence that mid lane and drive that win condition forward.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll add to that is I actually think the inverse is also true, where I think Samikin's playstyle can unlock Castle and Mixture, because we've seen even recently at Worlds, we saw a Mel pick from Faker last night. BDD is playing Zoe. It's just these champions that they're known for in the mid lane are still meta and are still in their wheelhouse, and they're one of the only people that are playing these champions. So that's kind of a sword in the tool chest, as it were. But I'm just really, really excited to see how this goes, as we're going to be getting in the draft, but that Zoe's gonna be gone. So
yeah, it's
no shocker.
It's a VTuber champion meta, baby. All right, listen, we're only a couple months removed. Cupic was making NACL promotion tournament. Like you said, we got that BDD Zoe at Worlds. It's a Samikin meta, so I'm very excited to see what he's going to be able to show us here. Already, though, that Nico going to be directed over towards Protoss. This is a pick that he would pick even when it wasn't a tier 1 S tier support that everybody was picking game in and game out. And I'm like reinvigorated on Nico after watching Carrier play it last night. There's some real good, real great highlights in there. That's going to be an all-timer right there. The one by the Baron where he pretends to be the clone.
Oh my God.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Don't even remind me of last night,
if you're a T1 fan. Anyway.
I'm not even. All right. It's Shovi's turn. Let him win. But that's a sick play, man. That's a play that only works because he has the balls to do it, man. Everybody, if everybody did that, you would just kill the clone. But nobody else does it. That's why it works.
I'll give it to you as long as we can remove the cannon minion mechanic from Nico. Then
that is true. That is true. That needs to be gutted, removed, and forgotten about. That is some of the stupidest stuff I have ever seen. Oh my God. Yeah, we're into the draft here, and the Zoe isn't the only thing being directed towards Samikin's way. We can see the Mel as well, maybe some Faker flashbacks like you talked about, Gordo, going to take that one away. And this is kind of the thing that we talked about with Samikin's playstyle, right? He loves the long-range artillery mages. His teammates know how to play around it. The enemy knows how to play against it, right? Everyone knows what Samikin likes to do. Everyone focuses away his champion pool because he is so proficient on those characters. And as I say that, I was going to shout out the Hui, but they're faster than me. They 3-banned the mid laner of Respawn here. They are not giving this guy an inch. I wouldn't expect to see like a 1-2 here for Samikin. It's probably going to be like a third pick mid if I had to take a guess.
I don't think these guys are watching the Cedo Combine because he's getting like 4 or 5 bans.
He gets like 4 or 5 bans every time there as well. It's ridiculous.
But you know, it's just kind of part of the Samikin special at this point. But with so the Rumble being banned, I think is really, really good because I do think that AMI would have probably looked to snatch some of that up. Some of the power picks that are still up, we have a lot of different stuff. Obviously, this is on the different patch than Worlds, but I was going to say that both Ori and Azir are up. And Azir not necessarily known as a Samikin champion. He's definitely been working on the Orianna in the Combine, so they're going to take that away.
Yeah, so Orianna, obviously, it leaves the door open to a lot of those fighter junglers as well. I think Low Jazz and Castle are very similar in their pools. I would say Low Jazz has the tendency to maybe flex outside of those traditional fighters that we've seen in the meta for most of the year. But with Orianna, you're almost certainly locking yourself into like a Jarvan, a Wukong, or a Xin Zhao. And now I think the onus on Respawn is to, you know, maybe snag up that Azir like you talked about, Sean, and then pair it up with the jungler they least want to face, or the one that Castle is most comfortable with, that being the Wukong. And now the question becomes, do you just rip mid lane here, or do you save it for 3 for Samikin just to get a little bit more information?
Yeah, I think the Wukong's a good takeaway here, too, when you're facing off against the Orianna, the synergy between those two, the snap engage potential that the Wukong brings to the table. He's a great carrier of that ball. You love to have a little stealth in a ball carrier as well. It doesn't come into play too often, but when it does, it can be incredibly powerful. So making sure that you desync those picks, like you called out, the 3 bans already directed towards Samikin. If you're going to commit yourself to being a Respawn fan this ACL, that's going to be a picture you're going to have to get real used to, unless some of the other members of Respawn really kind of solidify themselves as huge threats in this ACL, because otherwise I think a lot of teams are going to look at this team, they see Samikin, and then they see some other faces around them that are a little bit, you know, more dull compared to...
It's the KT strategy, just focus down exactly. BDD, right? Yep, exactly.
Well, the problem is that there's Nightstar in the bot lane of this, and you know, Nightstar, I think, you know, from what we've seen, even in the promotion tournament, that they were doing really well, as it is going to be that mid lane actual answer right here. So I'm a little bit surprised that Samikin's taken it this early. But his Talia, in talks with him in Discord, is probably just one of his best overall champions that he gets to play frequently. So really, really like this. It also denies a lot of potential mobility that could have come out from the AMI side. So it'll be really interesting to see where they're going to answer here. I'm expecting most likely it's going to be a jungle answer with the AD carry pick here for AMI, but they could look to, you know, maybe get a power top laner that they think is really, really strong right now, like a Scion, since the Trundle is not going to be able to be picked. But that's going to be the Ori Nocturne combo locked in here for AMI.
I guess it's like I guess it's an option, because like you said, you don't want to be running into the Talia when she's got those Legos down and just getting permanently locked down by Samikin. But still, I feel like the potential for the Orianna Nocturne does lie in just having those R buttons, right? Like, I think it is a lot less impactful with Nocturne, who has to literally use his ultimate in order to get something that could just be done with a basic ability or a basic combo of abilities by other champions. I will say, though, my main conceit of Orianna Nocturne is not having the synergy to pull it off, and AMI are one of those teams that I actually think do, right? Obviously, this is a team that has stayed together for a decent amount of time. Retrozing is the newest member of the team, but I still think we've seen that cohesion from him and Low Jazz. So I'm not worried about that aspect of it. I'm just worried about how often you're actually going to be able to get that combo off against Respawn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised by the Ezreal pick here, honestly. If I'm Respawn and I'm Geiger, I really just am like clamoring for some Scion pick, something like that. But they're going to answer with the Kaisa right now. I just feel like the damage profile was so incredibly low from the side of AMI that if you just put a Giga Tank on the top side, and then, lane swaps still in effect, as we can still see even at the Worlds meta where they're doing the roaming support strat. But they're locking that Kaisa. Again, y'all were talking about Samikin and friends. If you're a Respawn fan, Nightstar is like your hyper carry dude, and he won't play the Jinx. He will play the Kaisas, as we'll see here in game number 1. So really, really excited for this. It also, in talking to some coaches, they actually view Kaisa as a better self-peeler than like a Xayah, as most people would say it, because now that you have the engage from the likes of a Wukong or even a Flick from the Taliyah, she can reposition herself on the other side of the fight. And if you time it correctly, you can really void from the Wombo combo that is that Nocturne Orianna.
I also will say, as we do go into the bans, like we talked about toward the draft and before we started it, this is a player, Nightstar is a player that usually wants resources in the early game, right? And I think Kaisa is a champion that kind of demands it. You're very short range without your Prey Seeker, and so farming in a 1v2 lane is just not really feasible for you as a character, especially if AMI decide to throw down the gauntlet and give Proto something a little bit more aggressive, or even poke oriented, right? Obviously the Nico and the Karma are being taken away, so they're removing that possibility at every available turn. But I think that this calls for Mixture to be a little bit more active in the laning phase and not roam up toward that top side. I think that's partially why the Taliyah can come in such handy, because you do have that Weaver's Wall, so you don't need the support to give you those numbers. You can just rely on your mid laner to do so. So, I mean, looking at the supports right here, I would probably be anticipating... I don't know, like I don't hate the idea of a Rel here with how immobile this mid jungle combo of AMI is so far.
I definitely think that the bans kind of show they want some sort of engage, like a Nautilus or a Rel, taking away the Ezreal Karma for the push, and then the Braum to deny, whatever engage looking on. I hate that AMI is so smart though over there. Coach Pock is taking away that Scion, obviously realizing, hey, we're not going to be able to kill this guy if they drafted here on 4. So really nice. And there's the Nautilus right there. So pretty stock standard coming out from Respawn. I think they just knew they kind of wanted engage, like you were talking about, Quacks right there, be a little bit more part of the lane, not necessarily roaming to make anything happen. And Geigar is going to get that R5, but it may just be some, low econ, can just soak up and absorb some pressure on the top side or something like that.
And here's the thing, right? Scion's the best at it, but he's not the only one that can do it. There's other tanks left unavailable, and Respawn have saved themselves the R5 here. So I want to make sure to see something out of Decoy that is like preventatively ready to play up against something like a Scion. Well, not like a Scion, something like an Orange, something like a Malphite, something that falls into that territory. I'm sorry to be taking all your points here, boys. I don't know if Ambessa is what I want. I might have wanted to see a Gwen or something that I felt like had a little bit more potential to take the fight to them. Malphite looking real juicy right now if it's something that Geiger's got.
Malphite actually doesn't look bad, but honestly, like looking at comfort, I think Geigar might legitimately go just Cassante here. I try to eject one of Ambessa or Nocturne out of the fight. This is a pick that he historically likes, and Geigar is more of a fighter. He doesn't usually play the pure tanks, even though the pure tanks, I agree with you two, are really valuable here, and they're just going to go for the Rek'Sai. So I'm with you, Sean. I kind of hate this champion. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I hate this character in top lane. I think it's really annoying in the laning phase, but what does it do outside of the laning phase? No one knows.
Senses.
I think.
Whoa, it's got tremor senses against 50 billion dashes, Ambessa, and a blinking Ezreal? What?
I think the two things about Rek'Sai that I like is when it's being played against 100 Thieves at Worlds.
Yes.
And when Chawi said that it's just an annoying champion, and if your top laner is good at being annoying, give them this champion. So if Geigar knows his role, it's just to be annoying right here and to cause some commotion, which honestly, looking at both comps now that we have them both on our screens, I think both teams have what I like, especially in game 1, because there's no Fearless in game 1. Both teams have a clear-cut identity, so that's real good. But I do, kind of look towards like what you're talking about, this top lane actually for both of them. I don't know if Ambessa was exactly what I wanted for the comp already for AMI. And then the Rek'Sai as well, just kind of playing interference necessarily for the wombo that's happening on the other side. So just kind of playing stall tactics while the others are hoping to basically survive the burst that is Retrozing and Low Jazz.
And, you know, Sean, we talk about how much we dislike Rek'Sai, but unironically, what Rek'Sai wants to do, which is, you know, like you talked about, be annoying in the laning phase and be impossible to kill in the laning phase, is unironically what Respawn needed. Because you look at the damage profile of AMI, they're very scaling oriented. It's all about hitting level 6, hitting those 2 to 3 item breakpoints, except for the Ambessa, who can kind of come out of the gate swinging. Not against a Rek'Sai, though. You're not going to be able to get kills on this guy. You're not going to get that snowball advantage in the top lane unless Gygar royally messes up. So it really is going to be AMI having to give up stuff early and pray that Respawn aren't able to find too many advantages in the first 20 minutes of the game, and they can come back with their scaling advantages.
Yeah, you can see the pieces of an early game dive towards top really well set up here for Respawn. They can definitely look to attack this Ambessa if they are able to find an opportunity to get a wave crashing underneath the turret. Samakin has really great roam potential. Mixture on the Nautilus going to be in that category as well. They have great ways to juggle tower aggro between this Rek'Sai and this Wukong to be able to get in and out and avoid actually going down in those sorts of moments. Low Jazz going to have a little bit of difficulty responding up until he gets that paranoia. So we're going to have to see if that possibility can really manifest itself for Respawn to try to get themselves an advantage here early on in the game. Like you said, it's a bit more of a scaling look from AMI. So real opportunity for Respawn to try to get that snowball going earlier. And you think they're going to want to, because there's some real powerful snap engage onto the likes of the Kai'Sa, onto the likes of the Talia, that you're going to be able to repeat pretty regularly with the Low Jazz Retrozing Nocturne Orianna combo.
Yeah, for sure. I personally, for me, I think that the Respawn comp just has is a little bit more well-rounded than the AMI comp. The difficulty for Respawn for me is going to be getting Nightstar into a position where the damage burst from Kai'Sa is enough to where you don't have to worry about the range issues that you might be facing in the mid to late game. Like we said, minus the Prey Seeker, you really are a short range player. And if you aren't able to deal the damage onto these backliners, then it's going to feel really rough for you as a champion to actually find efficiency and get those resources in the mid to late game. So I do think that Nightstar kind of needs to be set up for success as early as possible, so that when the mid to late game does roll around, the kiting from Ezreal won't be an issue, the ball from Retrozing won't be an issue, and if he does go in, he won't get immediately blown up by Low Jazz and Protoss' CC.
Yeah, I think I take all your points, but I also think that, like, my problem with Apex AMI's comp is basically that, you know, if your ult economy is not synced up, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's you lack a lot of consistent damage compared to the side of Respawn, right? So that's just kind of where I feel like both of these comps want to do like similar different things. As we're gonna get a little cheekiness.
Yeah, Samakin gets found here.
So much damage.
A little bit of early harassment coming on down Baz.
Gonna come back up soon.
Shots.
Yeah. Also, funnily enough, no unsealed spell books this game. So we're back to tanky boys being tanky.
Indeed we are. Find out if that's going to have any lasting impact. I mean, definitely going to give AMI some of that early vision control around this bottom side, right? As they do manage to push out Samakin and co. Will be a defensive ward thrown down by Castle up on the top side. Wants to make sure that he's going to be able to start up there uninterrupted. And it does look like that capacity will be there for him. Geiger covering over on the other side probably has that tremor sense up and running already. This is one of those areas where it is valuable, and actually not seeing tremors come out of decoy. He might be just a little bit out of range.
And I mean, the warding, like you talked about, Gordo, there is also the defensive ward on the red buff as well. So they really want to make sure Low Jazz isn't up to any shenanigans here early, as Mixture is up to some shenanigans, goes for a dredge line, and both supports starting the lane at half HP.
Nice little chunk found down there, but doesn't look like it's going to have too much lasting impact. Already chugging potions on both sides as the laning phase will begin in earnest. It's topside starts for both junglers, so a potential little contest is going to be around that bottom lane scuttle crab. So keep your eyes on how this battle in the bot lane continues. See if one is going to be able to come out here and assist the other in being able to really clear out and get that first scuttler. Protoss, though, going to tick level 2 first, goes right in. Mixture with a nice interrupt out of the Zenith Blade, but will not be able to salvage his health bar. He's chunked out either way.
Yeah, really, really nice trade coming out there from. I think the things that we've seen from just all across tier 3 and tier 2, especially for a team that's been together as long as AMI, is just knowing like when to take advantage of stuff and not just kind of letting things go by. So really nice level 2 right there from Protoss and Baz. And talking about that, you know, matching jungle paths right here, I'm looking at this mid lane to see who's going to have push and who's going to have priority for this bottom scuttle, because honestly, with Samikin having this push, I really am thinking that they're going to try to look to scrap over this bottom side. But with that level 2 chunk that happened on the respawn, if I'm Castle, maybe I'm just going to go to the opposite side and just collect that scuttle.
And honestly, I feel like for Castle, it's perfectly fine to give up this crab and just go to the top side. You can see that Geigar is actually chunking out Decoy pretty heavily with the Rek'Sai. And plus, I've always said that Wukong, a champion, as hang on, good dredge line. Again, Mixture is just on it with these.
Yeah, great mechanical displays here from the Nautilus, but you know, it's not really making a difference, right? The quality of the decision making is overriding the quality of the mechanics in these exchanges. As Mixture, despite proccing his aftershock, which is the biggest factor here, right? He would be out of this lane already after 2 of these if he wasn't proccing that passive. But now Baz going to get engaged on either way. Another Zenith Blade back in from Protoss, going to look to keep this fight going, but Mixture's got the health to spare. Lojaz the first one to arrive to the bottom side, but that's only because he seeded that Scuttle Crab, and this is now a prime double crab opportunity for Castle. He's just booking his way up to the top lane, telling Nightstar and Mixture to chill.
I mean, honestly, that was such a fantastic hook there by Mixture, basically guaranteeing the double scuttle and blowing both summoners off of Baz. That is just absolutely huge, and it just shows the patience of, you know, one of our NACL players here on Respawn, who's been kind of hyped up for these past couple of, you know, splits as like one of the next good supports in what has seemingly been a support pool that has kind of been dwindling, as most of them have either been retiring or going up to tier 1.
There's been absolutely a giant drought of those in the support tier, like the tier 2 pipeline. I totally agree with you, Sean, as there has not been a drought of this strategy. Tell me if you guys have seen this one before. Top laner goes bot lane at 4.5 minutes.
No, I don't think so. No one's doing that, right, guys? Right?
Nope. Seen they do it in Vietnam a little bit. Decoy get another exchange in up against Geiger, who is still at level 4 here. So it looks like he dropped a little bit of XP at some point. Not going to be a problem, though. Picks up the siege minion, takes his way back up as the bot lanes do both arrive up to the top side. Ooh, Samikin almost landing a big seismic shove there. That was a flash in from Mixture that we just barely missed. Does not result in anything other than exchange of those summoners, though. Retro isn't going to be without flash.
That flash is going to be huge coming up for any of these fights, because it's going to be down for, you know, if they want to contest Drake, and also for the grub fight that I know will happen. As
Decoy.
I think Decoy, man, this regen on this champion, bro, I swear.
Well, Decoy might tick level 6 soon and maybe look for a public execution. Play.
He has the level advantage. Yeah, going on in for it. Geiger trying to tick up to level 6 himself, attacking the minion wave to get access to Void Rush. That will give him that moment of invulnerability that'll help him dodge away the damage from Decoy, but he needs to get out of the casters to do it. He's going to be on a little bit more of a delay. Castle shadowing the lane, Lojaz as well. Neither jungler with ultimates available. And it is going to be the dive in from Geiger initially, who's already so much damn health, man. It's champion.
Yeah, Geigar doesn't have level 6, and I don't think you have the timer to really go for that. So they smartly back away from the 2v2. As now we're still 6 minutes in. Dragon hasn't really been the focal point of anything so far as Geigar's going in, but the Tremor Sense didn't spot him.
The flash on Burrow gets both. He didn't even know Lojaz was there, and he's ganking him. Guy, you're going to be able to get out of here, but the Dustbringer going to allow Lojaz to chase him down and make this a 1-for-1 play. Samikin setting up. Nice dodge from Lojaz onto the seismic shove, but it will not matter. Crushing blow finished off by Castle. It's a 2-to-1 trade for Respawn.
And that was just so well played there by Castle. I mean, Geiger at the end, I was getting a little worried because he didn't have his ultimate for a really long time, but he dinks it at the last possible second. He goes and gets the execute, and both top side members of Respawn end up getting paid in that exchange. As, oh, it might not be over, Protoss.
Protoss a little bit locked down in the 1 versus 2 here. Baz looking to back him up, but without the firepower to really force them off. It's a flash forced off of the Leona. Protoss going to be without that additional engage tool for a while, and going to be without a support for a while is Baz. Nightstar and Mixture, a solid little moment in the lane here, but you know, despite all these exchanges we've been watching, it's Baz who has the very faint CS lead here in the bottom lane.
No flashes from most of the AMI members here either. We are about 30 seconds, 20 seconds up until the grubs, and if AMI want to contest them, it feels difficult to imagine a world where if they don't get caught by one of these engage tools on the side of Respawn, they don't just instantly die. You've got no flash from Lojaz, no flash from Retrozing. Baz's just came up, and then Protoss had to use his, so they've got to be really careful how they approach this fight if they decide to go for these grubs. And I like what we're seeing from them. They're just saying, all right, we have to be first to the river. We have to be the ones setting the trap because we cannot base check without these sums up.
Yeah, I do think that's really, really good from AMI. Although, again, it gives the opportunity for this play right here.
Nice shove in onto Retrozing, but not enough damage to finish him off. Lojaz dives in with the Nightmare, though, and it's going to be Mixture who falls down first. Castle going to be able to make it a 1-for-1 trade. Doesn't have the Cyclone back and available yet, though. Chains the feed and executed by Baz for a 2-for-1 trade back over to AMI. They're going to tie things up at 3-3. That was the feat of warfare claimed by Respawn in the midst of the exchange. Going to keep our eyes on that one going forward, but all in all, should be a numbers advantage here for AMI, but they're not going to get right onto the grubs. They're going to choose to reset first, spend some of their winnings.
I don't want to say it was like a quad tier Weaver's Wall, because that is just insane, but it certainly wasn't Samikin's best work, as now he's down that ultimate, which is really crucial for getting around the map. We highlighted the importance of it in the draft and being able to link up with Castle if he tries to look for aggressive plays onto Lojaz, who still doesn't have that flash, by the way. So that is definitely a possibility. Now he won't have that. So I think that Respawn are really going to need to rely on that priority in order to get these advantages for the next couple of minutes, next minute and a half or so, until that does come up. Luckily, though, the advantage doesn't need to be fought for. AMI are just going to go for the grubs plus dragon trade as okay, Castle actually got off of it. He's just going for the CS instead, I guess.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Castle is definitely, he understands that once he gets this Triforce, he is the BMOC on the Rift, and he just wants to try to keep Nocturne as far down as he possibly can, because I think the problem with that fight that we saw mid lane is, while yes, Retrozing didn't have flash and y'all were looking to probably contest at grubs against people who didn't have flash altogether, you made it on a timer where they could actually respond, and now you see, you know, the gold lead is slightly, even after everything, in the favor of AMI.
Yeah.
And to your point that you made earlier, Quacks, if Kaisa, who has a small XP lead because of the solo XP that she got during that entire fight, if she's not the one accelerating, the rest of the team who has the Wombo combo is, it's going to be really, really hard for them. So the fact that Orianna is starting to build these double stacking items, and the Nocturne is 1, 2, and 2 right now, I think bodes well for AMI as we go into this mid game. But I think that's also why Castle was like, I'm not going to waste my time doing this dragon. I need to be as strong as I possibly can on my one item spike.
And it also... Oh, no, go ahead. We knew it was going to happen at least once, but... I trolled you.
That's on me.
To be honest with you, like, Retrozing getting that kill, I feel like we talked about the lane... Oh, hang on. Whoa.
A little bit of an engage going into the bottom side. Nice chain CC found by Protoss, but Nightstar does have the killer instinct to be able to create that extra distance and get out. Mixture has the Spider-Man as well, and he gets himself out to safety, no problem.
Yep. And Dragon is still up, by the way. It's been almost 12 minutes. Like, plates are going to be falling pretty soon. And neither team has really cared about that objective. I feel like for the case of AMI, I'm really surprised about that, because we talked about the scaling win condition of this team and how much they spike at around the 2 to 3 item breakpoints. And so I figured you would want that Dragon to be kind of a bonus, a cherry on top for you once you do get those items, and also just to draw pressure, right? So that you can threaten Respawn with having to fight you possibly on uneven footing, as Respawn are finally going to be able to get that Dragon. Now Retrosing maybe walking into a trap.
Castle behind Retrosing. Nice flash away from the dredge line, though. The timing perfect there. Retrosing going to be able to throw out the shockwave, but it only connects out of Castle, and he gets hit by the second spin of the Cyclone regardless. Put into the washing machine and taken down. Respawn gets themselves a nice early pick once again, and Protoss up here in their faces trying to start a fight. In comes the paranoia from Lojaz, flashed over the wall from Castle to extend the fight a little bit longer. Mixture falling lower and lower. Baz trucks out a true shot barrage into nowhere. As we check out the top laners fighting at it once again, it's Geiger falling low, but you know he's going to regen all that health in no time at all. And the auto spectate knows that we could have already assumed there is no further fighting in mid. Both parties able to disengage, so Protoss extends a fight but doesn't get much for it.
And overall, Respawn looking for an aggressive pick onto Retrosing. They find it, but get a little bit of a scare as Baz is just going American Sniper mode with those. Decoy almost gets the solo kill, so Geiger heals up a lot. This Ambessa does a lot of damage on the Eclipse spike, though. This champion is so strong at one items.
In defense of Decoy, it was not the healing that saved Geiger there. He goes for the flash, bring down the hammer with his Q, and just barely gets it dodged on. So, I mean, it's a flash all-in fail regardless. The result is the same, but Decoy could have gotten that execute there if Geiger didn't dodge it or flash it away. He does do the former.
Oh boy, Samikin walking into a trap, and he doesn't even know it. He does have flash, though.
Oh, the step forward to dodge it. Nice heads-up play by Samikin there. Gets his way out of the gank. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know that my man deserved that. It was a bad decision, but he gets paid off by his mechanics.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure the comms right there from Samikin are, oh, Leona's here. Oh, I can flash. And that was it. Because that was just, I think, a little bit, you know, you expect him to kind of walk back right there. So Protoss, right place, trying to find a, a pick, does get the flash off of Samikin. So again, as we come to this Rift Herald fight that's going to be coming up here,
Ooh, Decoy taking the Castle Express out of here, but Void Rush going to be allowing Geiger to keep into the fight. Execute damage coming through.
Oh my God.
Turret can't find the last auto. Mixture, though, on the flank. Can he channel the Hex Slash over? He knows right where this man is. No, he throws the hook into the minion wave. Mixture's not watching the waves on the mini-map, and so it will be a successful escape from Decoy.
Honestly, even if he got that, I'm pretty sure Decoy had the shield back up and has Eclipse, so he probably would have survived that if it makes Mixture feel any better. Though I will say, with that, Geiger should be able to get priority in the top side. And we can see Herald is spawning in just a couple of seconds here. Respawn are first to the play and maybe first to get a pick.
In the battle of the face checks, Protoss is going to be the one who walks in first. Castle going to chase this down. Nightstar actually pops the killer instinct, but a nice double solar flare will buy Protoss a couple more seconds still. Baz advantage going over to the side of Respawn. They get it onto Baz, who may be a little bit too aggressive. He's able to shift his way out to safety with the assistance of his barrier, but the trade kill will go over on towards Lojaz. Respawn make one pick into two, and they have control over this Rift Herald. This should be going their way, no problem.
I think this is really, really nice by Respawn. Obviously, they knew Geiger wasn't going to be a part of this. They also are the ones to make the play first, not allowing this Orianna Nocturne combo to kind of set up and be together. And then, unfortunately, you see the shockwave used on Baz as he arcane shifts away from the fight right there at the very end. So we could have seen a little bit more return damage. But overall, really nice pickups from Respawn. They're going to get that Rift Herald, and that's going to play into this Dragon that plays out in the next 50 seconds.
You can see that bot lane turret is a little bit low. I think if they want to get the insta-kill, they should probably place it around there. And you can already see that Castle is pathing toward the bot side. Mixture is setting up those wards. So I do think there is a possibility that they can try and look on Baz the second time around. Even if they don't get the Ezreal, you burn his flash, you take away that extra safety net from Baz going into this fight. And I think you'll definitely be sitting good because you set up that vision on top of it.
Geiger feels good about this fight. I don't know if I do, as he's going to end up backing away. There's going to be Mixture finding a nice little dredge line on the bottom side. It does feel like Geiger's window starting to shut a little bit here. You can see Decoy really starting to chunk into him a little bit more on these short little exchanges. He's got the CS advantage. Here's a trigger pull from Low Jazz onto Samikin. Doesn't get the combo from Retrosing, but I guess he just doesn't need it. Shutdown picked up straight up by Low Jazz. Mano-a-mano, one-on-one against his former jungler. Is now Protoss looking to extend the play a little bit further on the bottom side. 4 versus 3, but the turret available for respawn to stay safe. They might just get pressured off as AMI looks to get themselves their first dragon of the game. Respawn not willing to back off though. In it goes. Teleport again. Once again responded to by Mixture and blown up. And Geiger arrives to the scene off the teleport. Here comes Decoy as well. Public execution onto Nightstar into the back line, but not quite able to find enough damage to finish it off. Geiger chunked down very, very low. Needs to burrow. Doesn't have the cooldown. And Retrosing will execute him. AMI, they get a bonus kill after both top laners TP in, and they claim their dragon.
And the Geiger flash double knockup looks pretty and maybe inspired some hope for Respawn to turn that fight around. But the reality is AMI just have numbers. They've got health bars. At that point, all of your damage, that being Castle, he's too low to continue the fight. Samikin is still down. He's completely out of it. The only one that can reliably place down that damage is the Kai'Sa, and you don't have the range for it, so you end up face checking, and AMI take all of them down, plus their first Drake of the game.
Yeah, they get their first Drake of the game, and I kind of think that Respawn...
Samikin.
Bye, Samikin.
Bye.
Samikin was on a Spirit flight to top lane. As it looks like Nightstar's gonna
Nightstar,
go down.
yeah, just getting 1v1 by Decoy. I was about to comment that 1v1 was looking dicey for old Nightstar there, and now Geiger going to try to get some response, but juked out from his own tunnels. Here's Mixture coming deep behind enemy lines off the back of the Hex Gate. Let's see if Decoy is going to be able to navigate his way out of here. Does immediately buffer his way through. Dodges out onto the dredge line. Geiger comes in with the knockup. Mixture on top of him with the staggering blows. Decoy going to have a long run out of here, but I think he's going to be able to do it. They're out of cooldowns. He gets one more shield. The execute damage from Geiger's enough.
Literally not worth it though. AMI are on the other side of the map and they're gonna get a turret for their efforts. By the time Geiger manages to hit that bot side tier 2, Leona is there already. And now maybe it's worth it if you could get Baz though.
Yeah, nice dredge line there, going to find its way on through, or depth charge rather. There's the dredge line. That one also pretty good, and Castle will be able to finish off that kill. Almost managed to give it to Nightstar too, which would have been even better, but that's a 5-1 Wukong. Castle just kind of cashed it out across the board now.
This is exactly what I was talking about in the pre-draft. We needed to see Mixture and Castle linking up together for this team to succeed. We saw it right before the Rift Herald fight where they found the picks together, and we see it again on mid lane where they're trying to do an extended window right there after the the decoy kill in the bot lane. Obviously, Nightstar getting that with the W would have been huge, but I just love what we're seeing from Castle and Mixture right here. Yeah. And to AMI's credit, Decoy is an absolute problem, and Protoss is dead.
Yeah, the sun sets on Protoss there. Moon diff, as he will get taken down. Now Otacon up, and we can see that Decoy, no teleport, is on the top side. They're just looking for a play onto Nightstar.
Real nice ult right there to deny the play.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another kind of ultimate in from Low Jazz that doesn't have the combo of the shockwave on top of it, allowing Nightstar to disengage the play. That's happened more than once this game now, and this is going to be another objective going the way of Respawn. This, I do believe, is going to be Feats of Warfare.
Yeah.
They claimed it on the tower.
They got it already.
Yeah. Oh, they got it on the turret. Well, there you go. So, very nice for them. Mixture stuck kind of defending an awkward number on the turrets here. Castle's coming in on a deep flank, though. They might get a fight for this inner. Here comes Samikin trying to break up the fight. Nice flash away from Mixer.
on the flank.
Caught underneath the turret, shuffled back in. Castle finishes the job. Geiger in on another flank. Decoy throws himself into the back line, but he's in the middle of 4 members. Samikin throwing down the unraveled earth on top. Geiger finishes off Low Jazz. Decoy able to cut down one on the backside, but it's just the support, and Castle and Geiger are running amok on the opposite side. Samikin just needs to throw one more rock. Cannot quite make its way on through, but he's gonna get the speed boost from the walls. He just has to be able to predict where Decoy is gone. Oh! Again, nice dodge of the Void Seeker, still outspacing the rocks, and Decoy will make the great escape, but he's the only one to do so. 4 members down for AMI.
And honestly, I feel like that entire fight started with the layering of CC from the Respawn members. Retrozing gets taken down, and he has no opportunity to actually use that ultimate. It doesn't come through. The damage isn't there. And then after that, what transpires is Decoy honestly trying his best, but look at the Legos on the ground. It's so hard for Decoy to get on to the members that are actually demolishing his backline, because that would require you to get rooted, to get grounded, and to get CC'd, and you can't afford for that to happen. Your best bet is to try and take down their backline, but he isn't able to do so. Castle now on this Wukong 6-1-5 ahead of this dragon. This wouldn't be soul point for either of the teams, but a second dragon for both of these scaling comps would certainly do them a lot in the tempo department.
And I'm telling you, Cloud Soul for either one of these teams is good, but a Cloud Soul for all of the Wukong, the Rek'Sai, and the Nautilus, who are already making good plays right now. And as you can see, you commented on the 6-1-5 Wukong, 11 KP of 14. Who else has 11? It's your boy Mixture in the bot lane, who's already built the Mikhails to make sure that any type of CC that happens to any of his carries can be nullified.
And the Tremor Sense diff, by the way, is just making it such a world of difference. AMI want to set up a trap. Okay, good buffer there from Baz. That could have been a very, very sour start to the fight for AMI if that did not get perfectly timed. As it seems like Respawn are fine giving up mid priority. I mean, look at the Dragon. It's just Nightstar taking it by himself.
Oh, this is not good, though.
I don't walls off there.
I don't like this.
On towards the mid lane. They're going to look for the engage on a Protoss instead. Clone of Castle taking a ton of damage, but he gets back in there with a second cast of the Cyclone. Triple knockup found by Dredgeline, or Depth Charge, rather, but they just can't get the follow-up damage. Nightstar and Samikin just a little bit too far away. It's a 1-for-1 trade, support for support, but Castle's ultless, flashless, and low on health. Decoy cutting off any path available for Respawn to get in and defend their tower here. He's going to go forward on Castle, but he goes too far. He's outnumbered, cut off, and cut down. Nightstar killer instinct into the back line, chasing down each member of AMI that he sees, and Respawn will snap the trap shut. It's a triple kill to Nightstar.
We just saw 2 teams trying to min-max at the worst possible times and getting punished for it. And I absolutely love it, because in the old days, you wouldn't be able to get punished for this. This would just happen. No one would fight. No one would scrap. First, it's Respawn. He's trying to take the Dragon and defend mid lane at the same time. And I love the look there from AMI, and they punish it. Then Decoy goes a bit too far, knowing that he is the big man on campus for AMI right there. And then through all of that, they take down Ambessa. And then who else but Nightstar, your late game carry, showing up, getting that triple kill, now 5-1-2 with 3 items completed.
Now that magic damage is really starting to come through from Nightstar, it means it's really difficult to build against this Kai'Sa. And we saw that in earnest against Decoy, right? Who has, you know, these steel caps. He's got all this armor. He's prepared for the AD threats on Respawn. But the mixed damage from the Kai'Sa, I think, made the difference there, on top of the Sundered Sky proc there from Castle. So yeah, Decoy steps up a little too far, and now it's Respawn going up far, but they're not overextending in the slightest.
And it's Protoss found once again by the engage of Respawn, doing such a good job of planting their flag in this shrubbery, getting the engages from Mixture and Samikin synced up together, and finding these repeated picks on the facing front line. Flash in, depth charge into the back line, on towards Low Jazz, forcing him to retreat. He pops the Paranoia to be able to fend off any further engage. It does do that, but now you have no way of getting in. Leona's dead, Paranoia's down. Baron for Respawn looking very attractive.
It's going to be a up to Decoy. He has to use the public execution to start the fight, but he goes on to Samikin.
Good pick onto Samikin, forces out the stasis. Will be able to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but he's at 200 HP. But Retrozing has no such survivability tools. He'll be chased down by the rest of Respawn in trade for Samikin's health bar, but I do think they've stopped the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, Decoy really playing hero ball here right now. Without that play right there, I think that's a huge Baron for Respawn right now, as we can even see the objective bounties, you know, showing us how far this game is currently. But I love the more and more we see this draft play out from Respawn, you can just see the agency they have and how many different tools they have to make plays happen, just like this, as they're going to attack the one person on their team who has been a thorn in their side on AMI.
Okay,
no
Decoy,
public execution here. I don't think he's getting out. Really well placed shove from Samikin. The only question is, can he proc Eclipse enough times to get himself out of there? And the answer is going to be no. Samikin has the damage to finish the job.
Yeah.
We have 40 seconds, no decoy now for AMI as Respawn. They just go right back to the Baron. They can start this again.
And honestly, AMI, they've got the thing. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, combo comes through. This time it's on to Nightstar, forces out his barrier, forces out his ultimate, and forces him out of the fight. But what else can Geiger and the rest of this engaged squad find? It's a shuffle back from Samikin on to Protoss, and Geiger will claim the kill. So many tools down now. Baz really going to have to connect this poke to make any kind of dent in this Baron ability.
In the best possible way, Respawn have like iPad kid behavior right now. They're trying to go onto the Baron like that's their main focus, but then someone is there. Oh, we got to turn onto them. We got to pick them off. And then they go right back to the Baron. Oh, someone's there. We got to pick them off. The Baron is still standing. This is like the third time they've attempted to go for it, focus on the task, but they just keep getting distracted by these pesky AMI players. As now, it feels like a trade might be possible from AMI. Baron still up, Dragon up in about 30 seconds. Whatever objective Respawn don't go for, maybe you can attempt to rip the other one and just look for some kind of a cross-map trade and even things out.
So yeah, and I think to your point, they may be iPad kids, but AMI looks like they're playing on Macintoshes right now because their shotgun pop is not working, because now Kaisa is so close to that Zonias, right? So now that they've been able to survive with the combo landing, it's really, really tough for AMI's comp. They're gonna have to find some really, you know, special ways to try to make this work, because I think it's just Respawn in the driver's seat.
And long have League philosophers asked, how many times can you trade your life for time on the map until eventually it just creates too much of a gold lead, right? You can stall out the Baron with your own life once, and you'll hear us as casters say, hey, good job, you stalled out the Baron, that's worth it. You can do it a second time, you can do it a third time. Eventually, you're kind of just giving away such a ridiculous amount of gold that you can't win the game anymore. We'll see if AMI ever hit that threshold. It is going to be a third Dragon given over to Respawn. So all this time they've bought, it certainly wasn't to trade objectives. Let's see what they could do with it here as they look to engage into the river.
And the thing that I want to note, I thought it was Cloud Soul. It's actually Hextech, which is going to make this even worse for the side of AMI as they get this, because that chase down that's going to happen from this Hextech Soul.
My God.
In the fortunate, you know, game 5 last night for AL and T1, it's probably the strongest Soul in the entire game, and they're doing the iPad stuff here on mid lane for you, Quacks.
Yep. All right, here we go. We're distracted by all 5 members of AMI here. They tried to death brush for what feels like the millionth time. Didn't work. Respawn not going to fall for that, as here we go.
Subway Surfers in the bottom, nearly connects with a nice solar flare, but won't find anybody. Nightstar picks up the first kill of the fight, but it will be one going over to Decoy in trade. Down goes Protoss as the rest of them are able to jump on forward. Decoy trying to buy the space, but gets dove on to by the dive squad of Respawn. Geiger and Castle able to take on all comers. Both carries left alive for AMI, but they aren't able to finish off anybody but Samikin. I think this is going to be the Baron finally going over towards Respawn. Big true shot barrage makes Castle fear for his life for a moment, but he's tanky enough to finish the rest of the Lizard off. It will go the way towards AMI, or towards Respawn rather.
Did you just call Baron a lizard?
I know, it's not right.
Did I hear that right?
Sometimes Baron's a worm. I apologize to.
Yeah.
Aren't the dragons like Wyverns or whatever they're called.
It's something
Sure,
like
but
that.
it's all
I think
lizards.
Wyverns can't
They're
fly.
reptilian for sure. They lay eggs.
Reptilian. As we do get a replay here. And honestly, I feel like this is kind of the wallet diff that you alluded to, Gordo, where you get the combo down, but it's just that the item difference is too much at this point, right? Like AMI are too far behind that even though they finally get that combination that their comp was built around, like I said in the draft, the times you can actually do this with Nocturne and Orianna are like very few and far between. And by the time they actually get it off, it feels like it's too late. So now Respawn with the Baron on all 5 members. They're just going to be going for the siege game. Gygar's on the bot side. I love this 4-1 split. And AMI so far not defending that bot side or this mid lane.
Another huge depth charge out of Mixture. Gets another triple knockup and puts 2 more bodies in the dirt for Respawn. And Respawn gonna prevent just that from coming through for AMI. They got themselves 40 seconds before any of AMI are gonna be back. Baz and Decoy, without them, what can you do? You only have one combo and it's on cooldown. Nightstar in towards Low Jazz. Solo Bolo for the Kaisa, isolating out the jungler, and Respawn, no more threats towards them. A flashy display from RetroZing to avoid a big dredge line. But the game is over. Respawn start off this series 1-0.
Good stuff there from Respawn, and gotta give flowers over to Castle for this game. We kind of talked about him in the matchup against Low Jazz, how these are 2 players that love to play the fighters, love to play the stock standard stuff, and it was going to be a game about which one of them executed better. And I feel like it was just obviously Castle, right? He understood the champion's level 6 timer of those breakpoints on the Triforce, and once you get that Cyclone, you can really turn it on, and that's exactly what he did, and he never turned it off. As we do see the gold graph here, a little bit of turbulence, a little bit of back and forth until that minute 12, when I feel the Wukong was really able to start making those plays on the map. And to be honest with you, like, I just feel like the Nocturne wasn't able to have that same agency. Sure, you spike at level 6 similar to the Wukong. Sure, you have that synergy with your items, but you just don't have that much presence compared to the Wukong. I felt like Castle, despite being the one without the global ultimate or semi-global ultimate, he was just so much more proactive once he got the tools to be so.
You can see Decoy's effort in the damage charts here. This guy does so much over the course of this game. Really was playing some hero ball towards the end there, as Sean called out earlier. He makes some good plays, gets onto some priority targets, forces out some important tools, but he just can't do it all on his own, and they are never able to really get this powerful engage combo going. They don't find any of the big Nocturne Orianna engages. They don't get enough scaling on towards the Ezreal, and or they never blow enough of this plentiful pool of engaged tools that Respawn has access to for the Ezreal to really be able to run amok and make a difference. The counter pick of the Kaisa there doing a fantastic job of being able to hunt him down and represent just another omnipresent threat that Baz always has to think about. So the fight's always over before he can really make a play on this champion that he has made so many signature moves on.
And I feel like the damage profile that we mentioned at the beginning of the game really came back to be a factor in this one, because you can see very clearly, like you said, the Ambessa, really strong, really likes to fight, and did that for the entire game, was literally the lifeline for AMI to try and get back in this game. But the Orianna, the Ezreal, they weren't given those resources. They didn't have the I would say haste of damage that champions like Taliyah and Wukong have, where you can really picture Taliyah with those big shoves, with those Qs, slowly whittling down and trickling in that damage as the fight goes on. Orianna doesn't have that same luxury. It's all about getting that burst down with the ultimate, and unfortunately, you never really had that opportunity as RetroZing. I think the same courtesy can be extended over to Baz on the Ezreal. You never really were able to get relevant damage on the board, even even though you did match Nightstar in the damage department, it never really felt like it amounted to anything at the end of the day. So going into game number 2, I feel like that's something we have to be talking about in regards to AMI. Get some more expedience of damage on your characters. Make sure that you have the agency in the early game, and that snowball factor actually is relevant because it was not at all in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that kind of shotgun comp where it's just shockwave into, you know, paranoia. If it's not working and it doesn't pan out,
they got it down once. One time.
And then they even changed it up where they, in the last fight that we saw before Baron, when Samikin went down, it's only because he didn't have his Zonias completed, right? So there are ways to combat that. And my big shout out actually this game, I know we were praising Castle a whole lot, but mixture from level 3 onwards, all of the dredge lines that stopped the Leona engages early, the hook that he found on Baz that chunked him out.
I swear to God that curved. I swear to God. I will call on the hitbox, man. I will never not on Nautilus.
That's fair. Sounds like a Kha'Zix player. But that I think that really set, like, Castle being able to get that double scuttle and then just have more economy. And then when they decided, okay, we're going to make that play mid lane, and then it turned into the fight. But then Castle on the next rotation, right, decided, okay, well, I'm just going to go steal off his camp so I can be stronger. I just think that those two players on their team not only understood their roles like everyone else did, but they knew that they were the ones that had to kind of be the engine to drive Respawn forward. And we saw it here, and I have really, really impressive stuff from them. And I do hope that AMI get a different style draft for them, hopefully on the red side as we're going into game 2.
Well, we'll find out how they want to navigate the rest of this draft. It is full Fearless still in the ACL, so all 10 of these champions will be disabled for the rest of the series. We will see what the selections are going to be for both teams coming into the second game. AMI, of course, getting side selection after losing game number 1. We're going to throw it to a quick break here while we get into that draft, but I do want to give a shout out to Zen Market, your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen of your first international shipping fee. And if you decide to make a purchase, you can use code Aegis25 at checkout to get 25% off your first purchase. So thank you very much to Zen Market for supporting the ACL. We will see everybody after a quick break as we get into draft number 2.
日本にはまだある？
急がないと在庫があるのはそこだ。遅かった。そう、そのフィギュアを一つだけ譲ってくれんやろか。
お前はだよ、同志じゃねえか。もちろん取引しようや。
ありがとう、全マーケット。
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the ACL Fall 2025 inaugural week, where we are coming at you live from the Twilight Group, where we have Respawn up 1-0 over the higher-seeded Apex Mission Impossible. Very good start to their season here in a group that looks like it could be very competitive. You know, we haven't gotten to talk about the wider group too much, but St. Clair Saints in this group, Calamity Esports in this group, Dorado White in this group, a group where it really does feel like there's some solid upset potential here. And I mean, Respawn hit the ground running.
You talk about upset potential, and we might see one here, right? Where, like you said, the lower seed ends up toppling the higher seed. And we talked about it a little bit between the games, but ultimately what we felt like it came down to was a little bit of draft differential. Like, we really didn't like how inactive the comp of AMI was in game number 1 relative to the early game, how contingent it was with the Oriana Nocturna combo that is very hot and cold with a lot of us casters and analysts. Some of us like it, some of us hate it, and I do think that AMI unfortunately rolled. I know Sean and I don't really like it. I don't know about you, Gordo, but they rolled two casters / analysts who are not big fans of it. So naturally, we gotta be naysayers against it anytime we see it.
We're going to draft jail if we keep seeing these things coming on through, Quacks. Let me tell you, they're taking off the board now for the rest of the draft. There's still a few more illegal picks left out there, though. We're going to hope for something a little bit more wholesome as we get in through the rest of this series. Fearless going to be our friend here as we hope for. I'm hoping for a more exciting mid lane matchup. You know, like you called out earlier. You know, the Talia, a favorite champion of Samikins, the Oriana, a favorite of Retro Zings. Both have got plenty of reps on these, but you know, these are two players who we highlighted at the start of the stream. They're two players we really want to see go at it. We want to get a nice little litmus test of where Retro Zing is at, facing off against some of this NACL level talent. I hope that we get to see a little bit more of that in game number 2.
Yeah, you know, for me, I really liked Respawn's comp. Obviously, 3 mid bans into basically 2 bans through Fearless being taken away from Samikin. So we'll see if, you know, AMI stays on that blue side to, you know, potentially like take more away, and then also first pick again, as there was their plan. But for AMI, you got to be like a goldfish, all right? Yeah. Because that memory, real short. Because what happened in game 1 doesn't matter anymore. You don't have to pick those champions anymore or anything like that. Let's find something new. Let's find something different, a little bit more fresh, as they will still be on that blue side. I'm expecting at least the Zoe and the Mel bans to stay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be interested to see if that Hui ban does make its way onto that third one.
I do wonder, because oftentimes when talking about RetroZing, you talk about some of the mages that he really likes to pilot, but I think that RetroZing is very capable of going some of those more lane dominant, battle heavy, you know, fighters in the mid lane as well. Like, I think he can play the Silas, he can play the LeBlanc as well. These are champions that I actually think could be really good against Samikin's pool, who are very long ranged, but lack a lot of that innate defense, don't have a ton of mobility. So if you want to go a little bit more bursty, and want to rely on that to maybe, like we said, fix up those early game damage issues that we saw in game number 1, I think that's an angle that AMI absolutely could take going into this draft.
That's certainly possible. We're waiting on the rest of these bans to come on through, but we have started the draft. AMI going to kick things off by taking away the Mel, like you guys called out, expecting those Mel and Zoe bans to stay, although not leading with the Zoe. A change in ban order, if nothing else. We'll find out if that does still remain.
Maybe
the level of cryo that it was up at before. Rumble ban taken away from Decoy, a personal favorite of his that we have seen from him many times before.
Yeah, and I like this strategy, obviously, from Respawn, because, you know, Decoy not really living up to his name, because he was the main deal last time for all of AMI. So getting him off comfort, obviously the Zoe ban comes out. But getting him off comfort, and maybe I think now my interest is more towards what are these two junglers going to pick, right? Because we were talking about it before. For me specifically, Castle and Mixture linking up together. I kind of want to see now if AMI can pick a comp that allows for both Lojaz and Protoss to do the exact same thing instead of just waiting till 6. Let's play off of a Nocturne Oriana combo, something a bit more proactive, because I think you saw in the early parts of the laning phase, Protoss was trying to look for these nice early trades, but then through Mixtures, nice denial and everything like that did not happen. As we get an Aurora ban, man, they are just absolutely trying to demolish Samikin's champion Ocean right now.
It's funny because I actually think Aurora is one of Samikin's not as strong champions. I think that Samikin really struggles on like the short range mages. Annie is a champion that I don't really think he has quite got the grasp on yet, to the level of things like the Zoe and the Mel. Aurora is a little bit better, but I think still when you don't have that range to play around, which is what Samikin absolutely loves to leverage anytime we see him on Summoner's Rift, it can be a little bit tricky. But it does leave that way open. It does mean that Samikin has the ability to go that, and they are on red side, so maybe if they want to like scout out what these first 3 picks are and then R3 the Hui, that certainly is an option. Is Pantheon going to be the last ban? Am I on red side? I feel like probably going to do something similar here for Lojaz. Just give him a fighter. Zinzao is still open. Jarvan is still open. You still have plenty of these bruisers that have been flavor of the month for many months. So flavor of more like that half the year. If you want to just go them. And they're just going to go with the Hui. There's a reason it's not banned, and that's because it's going to be instantly picked for RetroZing.
I was going to try to shoehorn it in there. It's a favorite of RetroZing's too.
Okay.
It's
All
not
right, we're getting somewhere.
that you expect Samikin to have big, strong counters to. But as I say that, the Lux snapped on up. The VTuber champion pool lives on.
So I will say, though, this can be flexed towards Mixture in the bot lane. I know that Mixture has played this Lux before. Caitlyn also one of the 80 carries that is kind of on the rise as we go deeper into Fearless, but for all intents and purposes, this is going mid lane for Samikin, and that's I really like that they picked the prime jungler here for Castle. I think Zinzao is the strongest one available. Obviously, you still have the likes of like the Trundle that's available on the other side, and then some of these other AD assassins per se for Lojaz. I don't necessarily think we'll see the likes of the assassins right there, as the Scion lock-in is fantastic with what they're showing for the side of Respawn. They can't lock in the Trundle unless you want Gygar to take that in the top lane, or a support Mixture, throwing it back to Yellow Star days. But I really like this for the side of Decoy, but that just means that someone else is now going to have to step up, because he was the one doing all the damage last game. We'll see where that comes from, probably from the bot side and Baz.
I think one of the really underrated Scion counters is like Mordekaiser, but then my biggest worry is you have too much magic damage, and I think that certainly is a concern. So Scion is an option, or Scion is there. Mordekaiser is an option to it. You could go like the Jax as well, but there aren't a lot of auto attackers on the side of AMI, and AMI are just going to actually steal away the Trundle. They were afraid of the Yellow Star tactics. They heard you say that, Sean, and they were like, all right, you know what? There's like a 0.01% chance this happens. Let's make sure it is actually 0. Yep. So they're going to take away Trundle, and Aatrox going to be the lock-in here on 3. I like this because you do have a pretty short-ranged, going to go into you topside from AMI with the Scion and the Trundle. They're going to be the ones running at you, and I think Aatrox always loves it when people go into him rather than when he is the one actually pursuing and being the one to engage.
Yeah, hopefully AMI doesn't have any G2 tags on their client right now, or this Aatrox is going to be scaring them for sure. Shout out Eterna, who beat G2 Hell today in Game Changers. So shout out them. We had, some of our North American players over there, Virtuosa and the like, and Myra managing. As we go into the second round of...
Sorry for the gang sign. So I'm trying to say NA greater than EU, but I quickly realized that I cannot.
What's the here?
Like he's trying to speak to me. I know it.
I got a good gang sign for you. L9.
Yeah, of course. Typical Kazakhs player with the L9. As we'll get into the second round of ban. So this karma ban has been perennially banned in the second phase of both game 1 and game 2 right here. I do think it actually is one of Protoss' best champions. I also just think the champion is stupid good.
Yes.
So taking that away to me again shows that we're probably going to be seeing mixture on some sort of engaged support, which is probably where the Braum ban will come in once again for the side of Respawn.
I wouldn't actually hate if they decided to pivot and go something a little bit longer range, or something that had the ability to pick off a lot of these immobile targets on AMI, because so far this top side has no mobility. You go for like a pick comp, and I feel like you can certainly thrive with that. So you could go like another hook champion, right? That certainly is an option. You fulfill both niches, the one that Sean said, where you have that tankiness, you have that engage, but you also have that pick potential that I mentioned. But I wouldn't hate if they went like Bard here. I wouldn't even hate if they went like Seraphine here. We saw Seraphine last night. We keep making references to Seraphine, and this AMI comp loves to go into you so far. So that Encore has a crap load of value.
If they took a page out of T1 last night and went Ashe Seraphine here, the only problem I see is who is killing this Scion, and you have a low mobility carry against a Trundle and outrange from the Hui. So they would have to get something a little bit more, damage oriented. Maybe the likes of a Jinx, right? Coming out from Nightstar, thinking of some of the champions that he likes to play, is they banned the Jhin. Now, I'm not saying that Caitlyn is really, really good into this comp, but it is still a potential pick for Nightstar here, and I'm expecting that AD pick to be there.
Yeah. I would.
We had a great spill of Sean there for a minute, but wait, now one more ban from AMI. Got the Karma Jhin taken away to try to limit some of the poking potential from AMI. Respawn really trying to make sure that they have the full monopoly on that kind of ability from their side of the composition. Do AMI want to round out with? I am curious to see if we see something like a Varus here to come on through and just really complement the. Oh well, we're not going to see a Varus here. We're going to see it up there. As the bands come on through. Sorry, confusing the inversion of my camera. But taken away by AMI. Still lots of long range options for Respawn, though fewer with the Ezreal.
Okay.
Here's one of them. You get the Ashe. The pick potential is now through the roof, and they do still keep the flex of the Lux alive as well. Ashe Lux probably not the worst lane in the world. Still pretty annoying.
It's pretty decent, and now I'm really curious to see what AMI's response is to this, because very clearly Respawn are drafting for poke, and AMI now have both of their bot laners available and ready to go. So, I mean, what do you attempt to do here? Do you attempt to go like Caitlyn and then another long-range support and try to match that? Do you maybe deny this like Seraphine, or are you worried about that at all? Or do you just go like full send? We're going to try and cover that distance by getting a ton of pick tools in the bot lane, because the best champion for that is Nautilus, and Nautilus is fearless away. So I do feel like that second strategy, the latter one, might be a little bit difficult to pull off here. Really, AMI, I am kind of at a loss for what you're going to go. Okay, so we're going Ziggs. I actually like this.
And I think the Bard that you mentioned actually should be, yes! Let's go. That is so good. I was literally thinking Ziggs Bard right here, because there's low mobility on the side of Respawn.
Do you not just do Seraphine here?
I think they might. My only problem, again, like, it's really good with inside the comp. You love these bruisers from Aatrox and with Xin just stacking this health and stuff with the Moonstone that's going to be coming out and the Echoes of Helio from Seraphine. But I don't know. Oh my.
Okay, we talked about the hook champions. We said it was a possibility. But I do worry about the Pyke a little bit, because you have literally no tankiness. I feel like this is Respawn throwing down the gauntlet, saying, if you leave lane, if you abandon this Ziggs, as Bards love to do, and you go get milk on the top side of the map, we are going to dive him and camp him and kill him over and over and over again. I feel like this is a declaration from Respawn's bot lane to just say, you cannot leave the laning phase as Bard.
Is there milk on the top side of the map? Is that what you just said?
There's Milk Esports and ACL.
No, okay, I'm gonna go get milk on the top side of the map. All right, I didn't know that our dads were in top lane this entire time. So, anyways, this Pyke, it's got me
You got mixed feelings?
I got mixture feelings for sure. Yeah. The one thing I do like about it is that if with their ability to find picks and they have so much burst damage with this Lux, right? Finding the resets for both Pyke and Aatrox in these team fights is what they're playing for. But quite like last game, I think that they're playing a different style of what they want to do, where I prefer the AMI comp almost, 60-40 at minimum right now. So I like what they've done. I think they did a really good job in draft. I actually do think that Ziggs and Bard was a great answer into a potential double range bot lane that you were talking about, to where this Pyke had to kind of come out.
And I do think that for me, it's a fun little test on Lojaz, because Lojaz was put on a champion where you have to be very farm oriented until level 6, and then you turn it on, right? You go for those paranoia plays, and he wasn't really able to find a lot of those in game number 1. Game number 2, it's a completely different story. You're on Trundle. You have to come out of the gate swinging, looking for all of these plays, looking for all of these opportunities. If that involves Protoss linking up with you and you making those aggressive plays, like you said earlier, Sean, that Castle and Mixture were really good at doing in game number 1, then so be it. That has to be your early game bridge that then allows Baz and Retrozing to take over with their poke.
And Mixture on the Pyke, something that I'm very, very happy to get to see, as this is kind of like some vintage Mixture stuff. When he was coming up on teams like Lotus that were competing to potentially promote into an ACL, he got to bust out stuff like this occasionally in favorable matchups, and it's an attribute of his play that I feel like he's shied away from a little bit in the Dorado era, as he started to be on teams that were favorite to promote, and then kind of teams that were competing at a higher level, where he felt like he, had a higher level of competition to go up against. I'm no mind reader, but it certainly felt like he got a little bit more conservative in his champion selection as he reached this higher level of tier 2 play. I'm excited to see it back, though. I want to see a little bit more Pyke action from him. We are fresh off Cryogen, winning an ACL Finals MVP on this champion. Let's see if Mixture can do good by the pick.
And it would be really cool for Mixture, because I think him and Cryogen have been very close in the conversation, as Castle is very close to AMI.
Oh, nice hook connected by Mixture to start things off. It's right under the priority target. Retrozing down for first blood, and Respawn hit the ground running yet again.
Well, Gordo, you asked for, a treat, and the trick was Mixture just hit the hook right there, and that gets first blood for Respawn right here. And obviously playing the Carrier Pyke skin, so he's taking the name down the list.
So good. Yep.
Mike Jones.
They're not done yet. Lojaz is maybe under threat of getting ganked at his Raptors here by 3 people. They're just not giving this Trundle the time of day. He gets bullied off of his Raptors by the Pyke alone, by the way. Meanwhile, Castle is taking the red buff, so this Trundle is completely sectioned off of the bot lane. Again, this is what we talked about. You isolate the Ziggs, you make it impossible for the Bard to roam. Anytime he does, you dive him, and you put pressure on him, and you make it impossible for him to get even an inch of this game.
Yeah, and I think it's a great call out, Quacks, because now that you got this split map that Respawn want, okay, you have to play towards who? A Scion. Great. This guy's just going to be farming top lane. You may be able to put Gygar behind a bit, but to your point, it's going to make this bot lane really, really uncomfortable. And also, I think putting Trundle behind here is actually so important to the game plan of Respawn. Because I really thought that if it was just standard without that first blood happening, without the late invade happening, that this was going to be where we were going to see the Lojaz that both you and Shibby are making the church for and everything. But as of right now, it's Friday. It's not Sunday. We're not in church, right? Tomorrow's the day of rest, and they're trying to make it to where Lojaz is going to be resting in the fountain for the rest of this game.
Rest is on CFO.
Okay, come on, guys. I'm losing track now where we're at in the puns. Geiger, though, so far gonna get ganked by Lojaz here. That is a big wraparound flash over the wall gank from Lojaz, knowing that Geiger does not have his own. They will get themselves on the board. AMI, not to be upstaged. Find an angle onto Geiger to start things off, but they're going to get collapsed on in turn. Samikin is roamed up. Now Lojaz is the one who's flashless, and Respawn will even the score.
I absolutely love that from Lojaz. That is the definition of a Giga Chad play. Flashes over behind on the wave to secure the kill on the flashless Aatrox. It does mean that both Decoy and him have to expend their own summoner spells, which results in Castle picking up that kill at the Gromp. But still, I love how bloodthirsty Lojaz is willing to be in this early game. That's what we said needed to happen on this Trundle. You need to be proactive. You need to be looking for these angles. Even if they look a little bit silly, they did give you a kill, and now you're up gold. So are you really complaining?
I can complain a little bit.
Yeah,
I can find a way.
I got some complaints. I mean, how much time do we have? No, I do like the play there from, you know, the side of AMI. I do think, again, this Trundle being ahead, I think is actually really, really good. Also, side note, I know I kind of memed on like you're playing for the Scion, but I actually really, really do worry about the damage profile coming out from Respawn the later this game goes.
Yeah.
Depending on what soul we roll here in this game 2 can make this Scion nigh unkillable, because, you know, you mentioned CFO earlier. This was their champion in Worlds and has been just the Giga tank for every situation you can possibly think of. So getting him into a good place to where he can just kind of be that stalwart top laner in that brick wall, really, really good, as you know, we just kind of see everything kind of going down to 1,000 gold lead towards the side of Respawn as Dragon has hit the rift.
Good dodge on the fear
here, but who's finding who? Is Castle will get chunked for about half his HP, and now Baz coming in on the collapse will get hooked back in, but the follow-up's just not there. Nightstar and Mixture just too low, and Protoss will pounce on the opportunity. Baz gonna clean up that kill, and that's some extra gold into the Ziggs, and a great opportunity to start taking some of these early plates in the bottom lane. Exactly what Ziggs wants to do. So dangerous for Nightstar to stay in this lane, but he's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Nightstar trying to farm up wherever he can as Gygar pops the ultimate.
Oh, World Ender will get him health back, but won't finish off the kill. Decoy at a safe distance here, and that chain vest plus the biscuits plus the health
pings onto the Gromp.
He doesn't have to move.
Look at the pings onto the Gromp. Castle is on it as Retrozing maybe in trouble. He should be
away from turret. Flashes away from light binding and should be just fine. It's now everybody focusing in on the top side now. Assist me pings coming through. I assume those are from Decoy. And Protoss and Lojaz will be happy to oblige. Protoss going to find Mixture. He's got that electrocute in his pocket, and he makes Mixture feel it. Pyke forced to retreat.
I thought maybe he was going to flash for him there. I actually thought he might have been like, you know what, screw it. I'm going for the kill.
No, I mean, this Bard, I think, is going to be a problem for the game. And it's honestly one of those Protoss type champions that I was kind of mentioning before. He would play Bard and the Heimerdingers when obviously they weren't like real meta, or just a way to make plays around the map, which I felt like he was trying to do in the previous game. And now on this Bard, with the comp that he's going against on Respawn with, you know, very, very few dashes, I think he's going to have a lot of agency here as he's looking to try to bail out Retrozing, who's been pushed in by Samikin for the entirety of lane phase.
See if he's going to be able to do that. Nice stun, gets the full combo, but Samikin has the window to flash away from Spiraling Despair. A big loss of the damage for this gank, and should guarantee not only that he survives, but that he doesn't even have to leave.
And kind of going back to your point a little bit, Sean, that you keep hitting on, where it's who is going to be able to kill this Aatrox. I also feel like you could post a similar question where it's not necessarily who's going to be killing Respawn, but like Respawn don't really have like a central frontliner. You've got the Aatrox and you've got the Xin Zhao, but these champions need resources to get tanky. They need items to get tanky, and so far they have those kills, but it's really going to be on them to tank up the skill shots being lobbed their backlines way from Retrozing and Baz. And I feel like those champions, they're not built like that. They're not built like Scion. As speaking of Scion,
Geiger, he's got Q3, just misses it. Could have flashed for it, but he won't finish off the kill. Several really good trades in Geiger's favor there, but he just fumbles at the last moment, isn't quite able to close it out. Yeah, Decoy could have counter flashed too. He's just going to maintain this favorable state for now, but he lost so much health there from tanking that turret shot.
Yeah, that almost looked like the FlyQuest top laner making the play right there. Samakin's gonna be down.
Protos making a big move with Lojaz there, trying to line up a big knockup or a long stun rather, but will be Samakin getting closed out on anyways. Castle throwing it down. The Crescent Guard will keep him up and alive for a while. And it is, at the end of the day, just a quick pick onto Samakin. We didn't talk about it much, but the nice little combo between the Bard and the Pillar from Trundle showing itself in that interaction.
Yeah, Castle probably kicking himself there as the Wind Become Lightning went wide and he wasn't able to pick up the 1-for-1 onto Lojaz, who really took his time burning that flash. I think he probably assumed he could get out without it, but realizes he has to actually expend it at the last possible second. And ironically enough, despite AMI being the ones that get the kill, they're the ones that have to get pushed off of the objective. Castle's going to pick it up, but maybe they can get some revenge.
All three do go down. Lojaz going to get the cutoff onto Castle here, slows him up with the Pillar. They're going to be able to pin him down and finish him off. Retrozing, the one who walks away with the kill credit. 4-2 on the scoreboard. AMI up in kills, get the killing feat. They are down in gold at the end of the day still because of how effective Castle has been in his farm.
Yeah, we just, as Director Cam moved us down, Mixture did burn Flash right there, but Satchel away from Baz. And also, Gordo, I want to talk about, I can't believe I didn't notice this, but yeah, the Trundle Bard combo is like an old OPL strat of like legacy days, where they would run around and do this when they had Tapoon as their top laner and play with GP. And it's so great for low mobility, against low mobility comps, with the Trundle Pillar into the Bard Q stun and everything like that. While I'm glad that Respawn was able to take those grubs away because of Lojaz being so low, with a nice save from Retrozing on the shield that he had right there, I will still really like the game state as it is, even in gold right now for both teams, with the first Drake still up. Quack, you talked about in game number 1, as Baz is just trying to bait out, and he does wait out long enough. Man.
Great move there from Baz, really showing the discipline. He was forced to flash at the beginning of that play too, as Nightstar threw out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Now it's Nightstar getting punished. Trundle Pillar gonna slow her down, and a quick binding on towards the turret, or Radiance rather, going to be able to stop them from being able to chase any further.
They might actually be able to fight them on this dragon if AMI do decide to commit for it. I mean, Castle is here, just picked up his first item. Samakin is pretty healthy. Mixture has the ultimate, but not if Castle just gets picked off.
Yeah, they don't have too many ultimates left available. Castle going to dive back in, but he just gets chomped down by Retrozing and Lojaz. It's an exchange in the bottom side as well. Baz drops, gets the trade kill onto Mixture, but will still be able to get his team on towards this dragon. AMI feeling plenty good with this bot lane interaction. They walk away with more kills and the objective.
Yeah, I mean, Mixture staying around in that bottom tri-brush, playing a little bit cheeky to try to catch out Baz as he, was still in the lane right there, laning against Samakin. But, like you were saying, Quacks, I actually thought they could fight it as well. The Castle just a little bit too far forward, gets caught out, they just turn on him, and then now your jungler's dead and they're fighting 2v1 bot side, and they actually go 1-for-1. So it's a net loss across the board for Respawn, where AMI are looking really, really solid right now.
AMI are looking good, and I also feel like Respawn haven't been able to get done what they initially were planning on, right? Part of the whole reason why you cut the map from level 1 and you bullied Lojaz off that bot side was to try and isolate the Ziggs, try and make it so that you could dive him at any possible turn where Protoss attempted to roam up toward that top side. But they haven't been able to put that aggression onto the Ziggs that we were expecting. It's that, and also Baz is just playing a damn good game of League of Legends. He is constantly in the 1v2s. He is constantly in these positions where you would expect the aggression to come through, but he's either dodging the skill shots, delving up the damage that forces Respawn to back off, and he's just playing this game, the Ziggs, really, really nicely. And not only is it thwarting Respawn's plans, it's also just freeing up Protoss to do his thing.
Yeah, and you can miss it if you're not watching the mini-map, but he just did it again while you were talking there. It was a cross-map Enchanted Crystal Arrow attempt that he dodges out on. Meanwhile, Nightstar getting out of the map, and he's going to have no such luck. He gets finished off. The healing from Geiger, jeez, means that he's going to be able to keep this play going, and I don't think Decoy's getting out of this. Used the ultimate earlier, tries to flash away, chased on down Soul Furnace for a short shield, but he'll drop regardless. Geiger gets his second of the game as Samikin is able to withstand an attack in mid. So Respawn, they make another trade, but again, the picks that they find, they're not really transferring them over into further advantages. It's AMI who are able to do that consistently as they get some more plate gold into Retrozing.
Yeah, and to the point, I'm glad you hit on Retrozing right there. 4-1-1 right now for Retrozing on this first pick Hwei. Last game, first pick Oriana was not put into a place to succeed due to the way that the comp wanted to operate. Now, with Protoss being unleashed and Baz not having to be babysat, you know, in a lane together, you can just clear with the Ziggs wave clear. Playing towards Retrozing right now, he is the beneficiary. 9 stacks on the Dark Seal right now. Even if he is down, you know, 25 CS to the Lux, doing a lot of really good work right now, as you can just see the amount of damage he's able to put down to what you were talking about, Quacks, a no real frontline comp from the side of Respawn.
And this is just the double-edged sword, I feel, of Pyke in general, right? Like, you're really good at finding picks, like right here, but you're also really good at dying as Protoss just dies.
Yeah, they get 2 kills for the price of 1 there, in that they get the extra gold from Pyke's execution as well. Good stuff from Mixture to be able to share the wealth a little bit. And now here's an opportunity for Respawn to actually get something out of it. Protoss still down as the Rift Herald spawns. Castle gonna be able to start that one up. They get eyes on Decoy on the opposite side of the map, and Geiger just throws himself right into the fray. This 4 versus 3 looking good for Respawn, but Protoss will be back, and Tempered Fate's got big range.
I just realized too, Mixture actually doesn't have his first item yet. You want to go for the Umbral Glaive, I believe. He doesn't have it, as the fight is going to be brewing. Lojaz maybe caught.
Off though, they're going to be able to get the dive in onto him. Tempered Fate goes wide. Nobody locked on down. Nice
secures it.
In a really good position to continue to fire away here. Castle going to be able to secure the Rift Herald. Castle finds the knockup, able to find the 1-for-1 trade on the junglers. Decoy has TP'd in and is able to find a good angle into the fight. Geiger going to back up his team as well. So far, 1-for-1 trade, jungler for jungler. The Rift Herald was secured by Castle for Respawn and picked up. So in the extended trade, Respawn get 2 kills and the Herald for 1 kill back to AMI.
Overall, I would say good for Respawn, right? You punch a little bit into Lojaz. You also burn that flash from Retrozing. Really unfortunate though, Geiger threw out the chains and they just barely didn't connect onto the Hwei. I feel like if those connected, that would have been a kill and subsequently a shutdown. As yep, first turret, and now Decoy without ultimate, without flash, is getting collapsed onto.
Yeah, Samikin coming on over to back him up. We talked about how hard it's going to be to kill the Scion later, but at 16 minutes, Lux has the damage to do the job. Decoy will fall. Another kill back over to Respawn, and you know, a couple of minutes here in a row where Respawn are actually able to find plays. They pull themselves back into a gold lead. Now they're in a pretty solid state with Decoy off the map with this dragon spawning. Respawn's starting to come alive here.
Yeah, this Rift Herald push really nice. Bard doesn't have ult to turn off. Oh,
he is charging.
He just got the ult back on. But they're not going to... Oh, the bundle pillar!
Really well placed there. Tempered Fate going to find its way on towards Mixture. Here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, nearly going to be able to take down its target. Mixture is one shot and will be finished off by Baz's Ziggs. That numbers advantage for AMI. That will stop Respawn's momentum in its tracks as they get control over mid and the Dragon.
And now, like you said, AMI are going to be able to push down toward the Dragon. Respawn really in no position to contest it. They do have their members here. Mixture has respawned, and he does have a lot of movement speed. He's got those nice speedy boots, and Pyke himself in the W is also a very fast boy. So, oh, whoa, wait, never mind. Okay.
What an angle from Decoy. He and Retrozing just find the one shot on a Night Star, flash up and everything. It just doesn't matter. One of the main damage sources already taken off the Respawn, but a beautiful ultimate out of Samikin will return massive damage still. Retrozing doing work on towards the back line. It's a double kill back over to Mixture as he finds 2 death executes, and slowed down is Decoy, going to die in the zombie form. It's a 2-for-2 exchange so far, and Baz might be up too far. Mixture looking for another one of these squishies to get on top of. Retrozing is out of mana, effectively making this a 2 versus 3, but Castle is totally out of the play, as is Samikin on just a sliver of health. AMI will maintain control, but they don't have the resources to start the dragon, and still hunting, looking to make a hero play.
And it's about a minute and a half until the Otacon. I feel like if they're not able to rip this dragon, you run the risk of having some play on the top side be made. This, I feel, would be worth to trade for the Otacon. It's only second dragon for AMI, and it would only be the first to respawn. But I do think it forces both of these teams to shift their focus upward after they spent so much time and resources planning for this dragon. It all might be for naught, as Nightstar, maybe not for this world.
Caught again. Protoss in position, doesn't get the cosmic binding though, and here comes Mixture taking the bar portal behind enemy lines, but regretting it immediately as Decoy hits him with the demolishing smash. It's Nightstar cut off once again, punished by the flash blown earlier. Baz picks him up with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Tower soon to fall. AMI get everything and more on the bottom side. This dragon is going to them.
Mixture is so sad. The wall was too thick. He wasn't able to E over it. He just gets taken down. And it looked like a good angle too. They probably could have tried to pincer that as Geiger gets stunned.
The Protoss Bard continues to make plays and stack up the highlight reel, but Geiger trying to make one of his own. Good flash away from Retrozing. Will stop the healing and finish the Aatrox. Respawn loses another member as Retrozing goes legendary. Both mid laners putting on clinics on their respective poke champions this game. And it is another gank attempt from Castle potentially being set up, but AMI, low health bars, Mixture not dissuaded from the previous death, will continue to hunt.
Yeah, I think right now, for me, Mixture is doing exactly what he needs to. He's just trying to delay some of these backs. They do have the grubs, so they can take down this tower. Samikin's wave clear is fully online, just going to be able to nuke waves from this point on, where they're going to have a larger windows of play opportunity as Castle takes on the top side. I cannot believe the sequence we just saw from both of these teams, where, you know, if we had a super long replay, just watching Nightstar just get absolutely, you know, destroyed by Decoy on the choo-choo train right there as Mixture not having the best high performance that, you know, Gordo was wanting to see out of him. And all this like consistent and long range damage with the slows being really, really annoying for this Pike, as they're going to be able to pick up this turret as well, matching the turrets across the board. And now the gold lead only 600, but they have the priority.
Decoy just ulted on bot side. Decoy used his ult, I think, into the wall.
And Geiger's just TPing. Can he stop him? Nope.
No.
Nope. Oh. Samikin, you've never missed these. Okay, never mind.
He has now.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and he didn't take that shot. So yes, technically it is a miss. But honestly, I feel like that's still okay for Respawn. Like, you don't lose the Otacon at the end of the day, as Geiger might lose his life. Look at this damage.
Huge damage. Protoss just has to create the space to not let him regen back up. Here comes Baz for a little bit of extra artillery. Enchanted Crystal scores a field goal as AMI completely avoid it, and Respawn now, I don't know how much they're going to be able to do for this Otacon. They have locked in the numbers advantage as Decoy is bashing on this inner turret, but he's got the TP back. He's going to be able to come over here and join if necessary, but he says, hey man, Retrozing and Baz, this artillery damage is ridiculous. They've already chunked out one of the frontliners. They are not worried about Otacon at all.
Seeing this, you know, the EAC and the Lux and the play stuff, it's like watching like a mini game of Swarm right now, like the bullet hell stuff is going everywhere. Bard ults and everything.
Samikin's things.
Take, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and that is literally just a stat stick right now. We see death cap. I think that's a dead Retrozing.
I think so too. Is Decoy? There's no way Decoy dies here, right? Like Geiger.
There's ways.
If you try to kill him, is it not just going to take you too long? And now look, AMI are just going to make plays on the other side of the map and go for the Otacon.
Yeah, already getting good damage onto Protoss, though. Samikin gonna get traded onto Protoss.
Wow.
Stays alive. RetroZing arrives with the shield pool and bails out his support. Goes legendary as he takes down Castle. And this Otacon is ripe for the picking. They did not get decoy. It did take too long. He participates in the Otacon siege. Mixture face tanking this turret. He's gonna get executed to try to get something back for Nightstar. But it's a disaster for Respawn as they overcommit on the bottom side.
Crumbs on the Rift Herald flashbacks there as Mixture, unfortunately, does lose his life in the attempt, but this man is down for like 25 seconds. He is back like he never left. Is now Respawned. You get yourself a turret in mid. You can try and extend that vision line. This is probably something that I think Pyke is really good at, where you can really get into these difficult places on the map to place some of this deep vision, gather that information for your team ahead of the fight. But because he went down, and because now AMI are now redeployed onto the bot side, you can't get those deep wards. They have already taken control of the river. You are already shut out as Pyke. To play recon is just not a possibility. And Protoss may be in trouble because he played a little too much recon.
He's going to build his own stasis, though. Gets out of there with a little bit of a Zhonya's Hourglass approximation. Just tempered fates himself, and that's enough time for him to get out of there. Meanwhile, Lojaz trying to get a play started on towards Castle. Does have that bit of CC. Nice enchanted connects on a RetroZing. He's going to flash out to safety. Castle going to get on top of him, though, and will be able to finish off the kill. It's a trade 1-for-1 as Lojaz is able to get back on top of him. Mega Inferno Bomb comes wide. Does not find damage on towards those crucial targets. They will just try to get the space back and created. RetroZing being down, going to damage their ability to poke out this fight pretty significantly. And Lojaz's low health going to ruin their ability to actually contest for this dragon. Respawn may have found themselves an angle. Nice binding connects on a Protoss. The follow-up not going to get used by Samikin, but dangerously close to kill territory for the AMI support.
Yeah, I guess Respawn right there finding a really, really good pick on the RetroZing, but still not feeling confident enough, even with the health bars in their favor, to really pull on this dragon right here. It would be so point,
brother,
of AMI.
It's warded, Mixture, please.
As Decoy is
doesn't matter,
doing his best Rek'Sai impersonation with his E with the Prey Seekers into the bush. From it's like, hey, Geiger could do this. I'm gonna do this game too. But I still think that this Drake is now going to be going over to AMI because of the resets that came in. RetroZing is back up, and it is so hard for this team to just face check into all of this poke and artillery that's coming out from AMI.
This is a comp where you need to be first to the play. You need to be first on the objective, and unfortunately you're not. Now Samikin is just in the grave. Geigar, will he follow?
Yeah, looking like he's going to. Beautiful timing there from the AMI crew. Protoss knew what he was looking for. He was looking for that line of the Lux ultimate, knows where Samikin is as soon as it appears, chucks out the Tempered Fate, and Baz is there for the alley-oop, connects the Mega Inferno Bomb. Mixture, the next one caught out, manages to execute RetroZing, but he'll lose his life for it, and Protoss now just stuck, getting hammered by Nightstar until he drops on down.
Samikin's up in 10.
The way of Castle. He's going to throw down the Crescent Guard to be able to create himself a little bit of additional space, but Lojaz not willing to let him go. Continues to chase with the chomps, has the subjugate onto this Xin Zhao, and the damage is just too much with 2 item Trundle at their back. Nightstar going to be forced to flash by a follow-up pillar from Lojaz, and AMI, even when things look rough, they bite back and find themselves the kills.
And now Geigar and Samikin are back on the map. The Soul Eaters have returned, and AMI get peeled off with a Baron. So at the end of the day, Respawn, they do lose a couple of members for their troubles, but they do prevent the big win condition that AMI were playing for. Still, though, that's not the only win condition they can play for. You are still on a timer. Dragon is still ticking down second by second. I think what Respawn really need is to be first to a lot of these neutrals and dig in the trenches, force AMI to kind of face check into them. But it's so damn hard because even if you are first, the poke damage from RetroZing and Baz, we saw the damage on Samikin. It's just too much for the backline at this point.
Yeah, well, I want to go to the back where you're like, they stopped him, right, from taking the Baron. But as Gordo said, League philosophers have long wondered how long you can deny it. And this time, not only are they just denying the inevitable, in my opinion, for this Baron to be taken with the amount of pick tools that they have on AMI. But as you said, in 3 minutes, there will be a Mountain Soul for a Scion, as we, alluded to possibly being the soul point, a Mountain Soul for a Scion against this comp that,
can't deal with it.
Like how it's hard enough for them to deal with a Trundle with Frozen Heart right now, let alone a Scion that's going to have Mountain Souls. They started this there, and they're actually shredding through it.
Yeah, it's going to be an Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out towards AMI, not going to find its mark. Instead, it's the Tempered Fate that will lock down Nightstar. Decoy going to be all over that, as it's going to be Castle one-shotted on the opposite side. AMI already with the numbers advantage, and Nightstar, he just can't do anything to Decoy. Decoy walks that off in under a minute. Mixture going for the play on the Baz. Love the look,
my Baz, please.
Too quick on his feet. Will finally drop on down, but it will cost Mixture his life, and the rest of this fight, it's already cooked. Decoy is at a higher health total than he was when this fight started off, and he'll continue to rampage through the respawned lineup. It's not often you call out the Ziggs comp as a scaling win, but AMI's top laner is just unkillable.
A Decoy is unkillable. Baz is somehow more unkillable than him because this man just cannot be hit by any of these skill shots. They have to use auto attacks to secure the kill onto him, which costs them time. And like you said, allows for the Scion to get work done on the other, Decoy to get stuff done on the other side of the map. I love this, by the way. Nightstar is hitting him, not dealing any damage. He gets breathed on and immediately evaporates. That's just... If that ain't the life of an ADC represented in a couple-second clip, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, but that's why Baz is playing a mage in the bot lane so he can do stuff.
Exactly.
My goodness, the quick feat from him right there. I do think the only thing that you kind of see is that if we were in an even game state right now, the problem with AMI's comp is that outside of Trundle, their consistent damage is really low, but they're finding a pick on the Samikin right now.
Oh my God.
Timing from Decoy. These guys have been working on their Bard comps as AMI pulls off the play once again. Protoss, we talked about him as always one of the players going for those funky champions, those little bit of awkward picks. Bard's meta now, but he has long been in that category, and Protoss showing mastery on it in this game number 2. AMI want to take this series to 3, and they are well on their way to getting there.
Honestly, to illuminate and simplify in like pop terms what just happened to Samikin there, he was basically Han Solo in cryostasis, like, on Jabba's wall, and the moment he gets unfrozen, he gets rammed by his car. Or his little shuttle thingy that they blew up in the scene. What's it called? I don't know.
Oh, the little sand skimmer thing?
Ship thing, yeah. Like, that runs over Han the second he gets unfrozen. That's what happened to Samikin.
Everyone in the chat to boo this man right now. As we're going to have a dragon fight happening as the clown from
Lojaz pulled a little out of position, but the Tempered Fate, it's locked onto Samikin all game long, and there's nowhere left for him to go. Decoy up at the front line once again. Nightstar off on the flank, cut off by the Hui Eye, but finally they're going to get back in on towards Decoy. They finally take out the Scion, and they've got some health bars left to work with. Geiger stays standing.
They're all alive.
Big heal back up and alive before too long. Samikin barely able to get away from the severing bolts, and AMI, they do not finish their targets. And Mixture, he smells blood in the water, wants to get some depths from below's in on towards this fight, but cannot find his way on towards the low health Lojaz, and that was probably the only fish that was ripe for the pick in here. They will see if they can spot out Mixture on the opposite side. This guy's plenty slippery on the pike though. And Respawn have successfully bought themselves time. What? If they can get Samikin and Geiger back out here in time. Wait, Protoss now going to get slowed down by Nightstar, and Nightstar reminds everybody, I might not have the damage, but I can chase people down for hours. Respawn now up 2 members, getting everybody back out of the base, and they're taking a look at denying this Dragon Soul.
They baited Protoss into taking the portal to try and chase down Mixture, who went the complete other direction. On the other side are just 2 members of Respawn ready to take him down. And do that, they accomplish their mission as Baz gets hit.
Good job forcing off an impossible decision there.
Oh!
He's out on the harpoon, but is caught by the enchanted crystal arrow for it. Meanwhile, Samikin showing some fancy footwork on the opposite side, gets away from the spiraling despair. Mixture arrives to kill Retrozing, and Respawn now another two-man advantage. Both carries down. Baron is up. They're going to start it.
This is going to be Respawn taking this Baron right here off of basically AMI not doing exactly what they've been doing all game, playing a little bit too much with their food, and also the thing that we talked about previously in that last Baron attempt was the lack of consistent damage that happens right there. They're called skill shots for a reason, guys. They're not point and clicks, and it's led to this part where now Respawn, the team supported by a ghost, is trying to come back from what we thought was dead in this game on Halloween and take a 2-0 win.
They're rocking the spirit, that's for damn sure. As you want to talk about playing with your food, Sean, I am Pennywise. I am the fictional character that is known for playing with his food. And even I feel like this is a little too much for me. AMI had so many chances to go for the Baron, so many opportunities to accelerate this game, but either Respawn chunked them out to an uncomfortable amount of HP to where they didn't want to chance it, or Respawn delayed them for those respawns from Mixture and the Soul Laners to come back up onto the map. Pun not intended on that one, by the way. And now what results is Respawn get one little window back into this game, and they jump right through it. Baron in tow, Dragon not up for another 3 minutes, so AMI's win con isn't accessible for a while. It's just a question of what can they get with the empowered minions.
Yeah, and you know, this is going to be...
Is Lojaz dead? Tempered Fate, it's a little goofy there. Proto's buying a little bit of additional time. There's going to be the Subjugate thrown on down, but it is not enough. Lojaz off the map for 50 seconds. Respawn create themselves another man advantage.
And honestly, I actually think that is Proto's just choosing the wrong target right there. I think he needs to hit the people who are coming to attack him so Lojaz can get away. I think that bought too much time right there. And what ends up happening still is that I think that AMI are going to be going back and saying, okay, we just need to do exactly the same thing we've been doing for the past 30 minutes of this game. Last 5 minutes, again, memory of a goldfish. One more time, let's go. Back again, because this Scion is still just an absolute monster of a tank. And if we're able, again, to get there first and set up our vision lines,
yeah,
I still think that they can get this game this series to go to a game 3 right here, but they have to play as a unit and play with their range and not continue to face check into spaces like that red side jungle by Lojaz. That's not yours during the time of Baron.
Yeah, his bot side isn't yours either. So
things have gotten a little rougher, though. I mean, the Scion is still immensely tanky, but Nightstar has finally finished that LDR. He waited until
Black Cleaver still Lighting Jewel.
Yeah, he waited until 5th item to build this LDR. I might have to take him to jail for that one, but he's finally got enough to be able to take this Scion off the map. And yeah, Decoy can't just sit there for literally 30 seconds buying time in the fight anymore. AMI need to actually find their picks. They get a big Tempered Fate, but it might be Protoss who pays for it. Geiger able to finish off the first kill. Onto a killing spree for him. Castle dives into the front line, the front to back, looking strong for Respawn when they have that man advantage. They got him! Picked off, executed by the Severing Bolt. It's going to be space bought by Decoy. He flashes back away. Castle over the backside. Going to get knocked back in by the guard. Big Crescent Guard to knock away the rest of the members of AMI, but they've got their front line back to defend. Mixture dives to the back line and gets onto Baz. It's a front to back on towards Lojaz that will finish him up, but Mixture going to be crossed off on the opposite side. It's a 2 versus 2. Decoy and Retrozing against Samikin and Nightstar, but Retrozing's without the resources. He's run out of mana, and Decoy's got to try to clear this wave all on his own, but this additional penetration on towards his defensive stats means he's got to pay some respect. Inner turret picked up by Respawn.
And it's 3 members on both sides. The junglers respawning at similar times as well, with the dragon coming up as we're going to get a replay onto this fight. Thank God, because I want to take another look at this. Okay, so we see the instant one shot onto Samikin. Geiger pops his ultimate and immediately gets a reset. But this is where I feel like AMI, they go into overdrive, trying to create that space, trying to make it so that Baz and Retrozing can go on the damage. So they divide up their front line from their back line. It's a two-way split, and then Castle finds an angle, but he's completely alone. The front line had already zoned off all of Respawn, so they have to play catch up. And Mixture, I mean, he just went and managed to secure the kill. I feel like if he doesn't get that there, AMI walk away with the numbers advantage and could be first to the river, but now we're back to live. Respawn are the first into the river, and they're looking to start the fight.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow right onto Decoy. We'll see if that ends up being a mistake. Tempered Fate connects onto two, and one of them is Nightstar. Flashes out to safety, still gets hit by the Mega Inferno Bomb, but Decoy, cut off from the rest of the team, will be finished off by all that damage. Still in the zombie mode, starting to beat on a Geiger. Low Jazz will be able to finish him off. He's going to flash out to safety, and now it's Castle who's overextended. He's got to flash out to keep himself alive. Protoss can play pseudo tank for a little while. He's built up some tanky items over the course of this 38-minute game. He can stand toe-to-toe with Mixture and shrug him off in a way that he previously couldn't. There's going to be one more final spark going to Astro Dragon. Mixture spotted out by Protoss, slowed down by Protoss, and the bombs from Baz could be able to finish off the job. That champion cannot build tanky stats. It's Low Jazz coming on through, but they are able to work their way through Protoss thanks to Nightstar's damage, and the poke isn't quite enough. Mega Inferno Bomb comes back with a vengeance. Nightstar gets hit by two of those in one fight, but Low Jazz going to get one shot regardless. The final spark was back up for Samikin. The cooldowns so low on these poke champions, and it looks like it's Respawn that's going to reap the rewards at the end of the day. Retrozing can't find the damage. A second dragon will fall to Respawn, and AMI still cannot secure their soul.
AMI is just playing Red Rover and sending anybody on over while these TPs are just coming in. They're not playing together on these moments. There's moments where Low Jazz, if he just waits for the TP coming on Retrozing, they just killed Nightstar. You can look for this pick right there. I think it's such a chaotic fight from both sides. We're going to go through the replay. And the Samikin Lux ultimate, Samikin has been able to ult twice in these long extended
Literally, he has. They've been extended long enough. It's insane.
It's been so clutch, and we don't even have enough time as we're back in, as Mixture's life has been so hard, and if he is able to be, you know, a part of these fights with the amount of damage that Samikin alone is able to put out to find these resets for him, find these resets for Geiger, it is the way that Respawn can come back and look to take this to 2-0. But AMI have other ideas, so they've set their sights on this top side to try to get this Baron. They're consistent DPS. You know, we're nearing full items for everybody as both caps have been completed for the mages.
And honestly, looking at Mixture, you talked about his life being hard. Think about where he started in this game. We talked about the volatility of this Pyke pick, and he did not have the best early or mid games, but he has done a really good job at rebounding in relevancy throughout this late game. We saw that pick in the mid fight that basically changed the course of that exchange, and subsequently the priority around that dragon, which Respawn later were able to claim. Now, though, it's not about the dragons. It's not about anything else except for the Barons. Whichever team can find a pick onto the opposition first will be able to translate it into that objective, because the death timers, we're nearing 45 minutes in this game. We just went over 40. The death timers are so long. Will it be Nightstar?
It's the timing once again connecting. Tempered Fate, so well rehearsed, but the return damage from Samikin is ridiculous. Protoss able to survive through it, as is Low Jazz.
Low Jazz is so tanky!
Giving him the extra health, giving him the extra tanky stats, and keeping him alive. Mixture going to try to find a victim on the opposite side, but Protoss is able to fall back, and the rest of the team has got his back. Samikin just trying to find the poke, but Decoy is too tanky for a Lux to take down on his own.
I got his teleport.
Nightstar being down for 40 seconds, so impactful here. The Baron will be started up.
They haven't hit it yet. Castle, you have to be careful, Castle!
He's spotted out. The Decimating Smash will still connect, and here comes the rest of the squad pouncing onto him. But Crescent Guard doing plenty of work. Low Jazz falling low. Low Jazz will go down, but it's a 1-for-1 trade on the jungler. Then Mixture has nowhere left to go. Decoy jumps over the wall, charges forward, doesn't find Samikin, but the Mega Inferno Bomb will. Geiger, the last one standing for Respawn, but I don't know that he can stop this push. It's Nightstar up in 5 seconds, but everybody else, their death timers are upwards of 40.
Yeah, are they just going to look for the end? They might just look for it. It looks like they're going to peel off. Maybe it's just... Yeah, not wanting to disrespect Nightstar, not wanting to test these long death timers. They want to exploit them instead, as they will go on to the Baron. And AMI, with how they have been in this game, you would expect this to be their second, maybe third Baron, but it is their first. They will claim it uncontested, and now that should be a good enough moment of leeway to get toward the Dragon. Look at that Han Solo and Cryostasis run over by the speeder yet again, but it's Nightstar that time instead, as they try to return the damage. But literally, Lojaz is healing from the damage. This guy is immortal, and I like the stalling that was done here. But Castle, I feel, just disrespectful on the pathing. He could have gone the other way around toward the Raptors and taken a safer route. They could have collapsed on them as for, but they go for the fight, and what results is them losing too many members. Even the slight mess up there from Decoy doesn't matter. Samikin, he was forced to flash, and because of that, had nowhere to go. It was just Gygar left alive, and now Dragon up in 40 seconds. We got no time to rest. The fighting doesn't stop.
Oh, it's a nice pillar from Lojaz, but it baits Protoss a little bit. He chucks out the Tempered Fate and connects it onto nobody. That's been their most reliable tool to start these fights onto the immobile carries. It being down for the beginning of this fight, going to be rough for AMI. Let's see what they can find otherwise. Castle taking a little bit of that poke damage, but he is still plenty tanky. He's finished off a force of nature to keep his health bar up against this magic
Decoy
damage.
has a flank.
Decoy cut off from the rest of the team, or is it a flank? It's going to be AMI starting to siege onto the base. They already managed to take down one turret, and now they're going to look to close the pincher trap onto Castle and Decoy. It's Geiger chunked down to half. Castle already flashing back away. Geiger going to try to train tank the rest of this, as Retrozing's already been taken down. If Respawn can be able to fall back to their traditional fight lines, they've already won on out, but Geiger will finally fall. Mixture going to pull him back away. Tempered Fate going to go wide once again. All it does is slow up a couple of minions, but it's a beautiful pillar once again to stop Mixture in his tracks. He throws out another spear, but the follow-up won't be there. AMI 4 versus 4 inside track on towards the Dragon. Geiger down for 45 more seconds. Retrozing down for 30. Both have TP. Retrozing's going to be here 10 seconds earlier, but the fight might just break out sooner. Castle going to get thrown back in by another big pillar from the Trundle, but they don't have the damage to be able to finish it off. They are missing Retrozing so much right now.
Retrozing.
Yeah, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow hitting onto Retrozing at the beginning of that fight with the Luxalt on top of it just absolutely nukes Retrozing as they're going to start up this Dragon.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh, it's going to be another binding from Protoss getting in onto this Dragon. It's smited down by Castle. He keeps the game alive once again, and a massive ultimate from Samikin might just turn this fight onto its head. It's going to be a big Tempered Fate landing onto two. They get the Mega Inferno Bomb on top of it. Retrozing trying to fight his way out, able to take down Mixture, but it's Decoy's job to get out of these carries. Nightstar and Samikin manage to fight him out with Castle's help, and they take down the Mega Tank. Raid boss down for Apex Mission Impossible. Baz forced to retreat away. Respawned on the march up to the top. They're in a 4 versus 2 situation. What can they get with these death timers?
I mean, the wave clear from AMI is still there. Retrozing and Baz are still alive. Their backline is still healthy. They'll be able to get the respawns off. So I feel like Respawn, without the Baron buff to threaten with these empowered minions, isn't able to actually siege the base. They get the Dragon. They stall the soul for 15 entire minutes, by the way. And so that is consolation enough, I feel, at this point, as I was thinking this fight was just completely cooked if they weren't able to get this Dragon. But it starts out, however a great fight starts out, a 50-50, and Castle does manage to secure it. Lojaz and Protoss both get hit, and it opens the floodgates for Mixture to go crazy. He gets one execute off. He covers the distance onto Lojaz. He tries to dance around. The backline is isolated from their Scion at this point, and it's a double over to Castle. I respect the attempt here from the Aatrox as well, but the self-peel is just a little too strong. But still, like I said, they deny the soul, and they deny this game win from AMI. They keep stalling it out, and it feels like this game is starting to get to a boiling point, gentlemen. The next Dragon could just determine if it's a 2-0 or if we're going to game 3.
The gold lead just means nothing at this stage. Full builds coming out nearly across the board. Top laners with a little bit of work left to do. But for the most part, everybody is rocking everything that they're going to have for this game. Supports, of course, even getting into this Wardstone territory. Look at Mixture busting out items that I might have not even been sure were still in the game if you had asked me 30 minutes ago. And there's so much game left to be played. I mean, it is not firmly in either team's side. It's up to who makes these picks, up to who can pull off the triggers, and up to who will be able to draw first blood in these exchanges.
Yeah, and I mean, if we see another tactical laser Scion ult once again from the side of AMI, or
that was a raw bomb.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's not a sand speeder. Let's just no sand speeder has a tactical laser and a nuke coming up.
No, Scion is the sand speeder, bro.
Point still stands. No sand speeder has a nuke and a tactical laser dropping on top of it when it passes by you.
They got low jazz. He's pulled out of position. Tempered Fate going to find its way onto Castle. That's not the target you're hoping for. Decoy going to charge forward, but nothing can save low jazz at this point. He's in too deep, and he goes under. Decoy now going to be the next one locked on down. Geiger advancing onto him with the Darkened Blades. Castle dives forward, looking for another knock-up. He's going to be forced to unstoppable.
Baron is up.
Backwards. Screams cowards as he runs with his tail between his legs, and nobody will fall from Respawn. They have a 5 versus 4 on the map. Low jazz down means no smite.
But
down, no smite. But still have the poke from Ziggs and Hui to make this really difficult. Problem is, you need Decoy here to walk in. Otherwise, your guys are going to get absolutely nuked as the bomb comes in, and that's going to be a Baron going over to Respawn once again.
What a reestablishment for Respawn here. Crystal Arrow dives Retrozing, the worst possible target for AMI. Their mid laner goes down. Baz cut off on the opposite side, forced to satchel charge back into the forces of Respawn. Nightstar has Protoss cut off. A triple kill to Nightstar. Decoy is the last one standing. We've called him the hyper carry tank, but he can't do it on his own. Respawn against all odds from a deficit from the entire game will pull this back into their favor, will come back from the grave, and will close out this series in 2-0 fashion against the recent NACL promotion candidates. It's gonna be a victory in this group for them to start things off, and there's nothing AMI can do about it. Respawn 2-0.
The most unexpected twist in this game from the first 20 minutes as we, yes, please God, give me a replay of this last fight. Okay, nuclear bomb, thanks for the assist on the Baron. And now, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, literally the worst target, like you said, Gordo. He gets hit, he gets lasered, he gets, you know, thrown, a spear gets thrown his way, and then he gets flash chomped by a sword. Mixture actually has a little bit of a herp dirt moment there. He tried to go for the E flash, but doesn't end up going and landing it. But yeah, this overall, a triple kill for Nightstar. And how poetic is it that Nightstar gets to end the game like this? The guy who was constantly bullied by AMI in the early phases, the guy who was constantly collapsed on as the Ashe, manages to walk away from this game the victor, the guy that gets the spoils in the last fight. Because this game, it was full of so many of those fights. It's just look at the gold graph. It tells a story.
Look at that damage coming out from Samikin's Lux. There's almost as much damage as there is gold on AMI coming out from Samikin right there. It is incredible, this Lux pick, and again, to your point, Nightstar right here, them teaming up and landing these Enchanted Crystal Arrows and the Lux combo onto Retrozing at least 3 times to my count, really stalled out this game long enough. And Gordo, to your philosopher's question, how many times can you stall it out? Well, if you got Samikin on Lux and Nightstar on Ashe, and then Mixture causing chaos in the back on Pike, I guess the answer is 50 some odd minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you never find those crazy moments where Samikin actually one-shots somebody, so he gets a little underpraised by us over the course of the game, but this damage chart shows it. Consistently finding incredibly meaningful ultimates in these team fights where he connects onto multiple members even if they aren't rooted up. You could find it if you scan back through this VOD. So many team fights where you don't realize it because he fires it off so early, but he does so much damage and he opens up for these moments later on where Geiger can pop off on the Aatrox, where Castle can pop off on the Xinjiao, where Mixture can find deaths from below on the Pike. It's such a great Lux game out of him, and just some very, very small mistakes from AMI that this Respawn team does such a good job of capitalizing on.
Yeah, it felt like AMI were just a little too scared to pull the trigger when they could have been, right? Sure, the conditions aren't perfect for you to, take some of those neutrals, but I feel like you have to make use of what you have. And at the end of the day, you didn't get perfection, but you didn't get anything then, right? Because you didn't go for the Baron when you arguably had the ball in your court. You weren't able to secure the soul when you were basically 3-0 on that dragon counter. So I feel like Respawn did a really good job at delaying the game, but I also feel like AMI were not as proactive as they could have been around those neutrals when they did get those little incremental wins and decided it wasn't good enough to translate into a neutral.
Yeah, and I think that kind of just goes to what we saw that was so great about AMI's comp, where they were able to be proactive, the Trundle pillar with the Bard stun and all this stuff, is that is essentially all that they actually had in their tank. That plus your Sand Speeder combo that you wanted to talk about the whole game, right? Those were the two things you did, right? That's what you had. All right, I got one trick over here and I got another trick over here, and that's all I got. But you see how fragile their comp is if any one thing gets taken out. In the last fight, it's Low Jazz getting picked out, and he is supposed to be their pseudo tank when he's stealing stats. Or when Protoss gets caught out right there before the Dragon, right? And then because you don't have Tempered Fate or your Bard on the map, now you're in a numbers disadvantage and you have to give up that space. So real big credit, as you said, to Respawn right here for finding those moments. But I do want to kind of give credence or push back a bit that I think AMI gave them those opportunities to find it when I really feel like they were in the driver's seat for a majority of this game and still even had a chance to win as we went down here. But their comp's just a little bit too fragile, not enough consistent damage. And then, seeing Respawn kind of take it here with multiple Lux ults and multiple Pike ults right there at the end.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to throw it to a quick break here. We're going to have the victorious Respawned Mixture joining us for a post-game interview here in just about a minute. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back as soon as we can get Mixture on towards the call. So see everybody in just another moment or two. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the ACL. We are joined by the victorious Respawn Mixture. Mixture, congratulations. The closest 2-0 we have had all season. The only 2-0 we've had all season. Welcome aboard. How do you guys come back in that game number 2, man? I just got to hear it from right from the horse's mouth.
Honestly, at the start of the draft, at the start of the game, I thought the game was completely lost. But we had good vibes, good mental. We are like all friend team. So we're just surviving. We're like, we can like find ways to come back, and we have 7 Lux too. So we just keep on finding picks, keep on keeping our mental strong. So that's how we basically got back into the game.
Yeah, and what a game it was. So I gotta ask you though about the Pyke pick. So we were having some speculations on what that last pick could be. I know we chucked the Seraphine name out there, just something with range, but we also did throw out like the ability with like how immobile that comp was. Maybe you go something with some hooks. And I mean, I was saying like Thresh. I didn't think Pyke was going to be the option. But tell me, what was like the idea behind the Pyke? Was it like a pocket pick that you just thought, comfort, let's just go for it? Or was there something else to it?
At first, when the draft came down, we thought like that if we don't win bot lane, it's kind of cooked. We have they have a pretty good comp. So if we don't blow up bot lane, I think the game's kind of over. So my thought theory was that we have to like blast one bot by either picking Pyke or Blitzcrank, which then we did the invade. But then the bot lane didn't really turn out as we did. But I'm glad that I picked the champ, and then we found ways to get back in the game afterwards. So.
Yeah, definitely
happy
got
about
y'all back into the game. Lots of crazy picks. Obviously, you had mentioned Samakin Lux. I got 2 questions overall, just real quick. One, in game 1, we were really highlighting both you and Castle working together. Some of them have been playing together on other teams like Castleberry and stuff like that. What has your experience been like just with this team? You mentioned that y'all are a bunch of friends, but specifically like your play with Castle.
Oh, I mean, I've played with him in a few trials before, but I've actually never been on like a real team scenario. I think Castle's a really smart player. I kind of try to follow whatever plays he makes, and he also listens to a lot of the plays that I do plan out. So we're still on the early phase of creating the team. Like we haven't had much scrims, but we've been like we're just like chilling as friends. We're just having a good time. Like we're just vibing. So. I'm just happy to be on the team, and I'm happy to see the team doing well. So,
and then The last question is: I've heard that Castle was giving Samakin Lux lessons. Can you confirm or deny this?
I can't confirm. Anything Samakin says might be like false information if it comes out after the interview. But I've heard like Castle was teaching. Castle was the first one to coach Samakin Lux. So yeah. There, I've said it.
Ooh,
there we go.
All right. That sounded a little bit like a confirmation to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Nope.
That's all right. He did say he can't confirm, so it's not on the record.
My head's canon now.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna drag this out a little bit longer. I just want to hear, Respawn. It's a newer team coming together. Some of you guys who are on Castleberry, as you said, it's kind of a little bit of a friend team. What's the expectation in house for how far you guys are trying to go? Like, what's the kind of goal within the team for this ACL?
I think we're all trying to improve and get better. I mean, we just I think the goal we hope is to win ACL, of course. I think we've got good synergy right now, and we're like the team vibes are doing good. Like if we can come back from this game, we can win any game. That's what I feel like.
All right. Yeah, that's the right attitude to have, man. So thank you very much for sharing it with us. Last word goes to you. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say before we call it on day number 1 of the ACL?
Yeah. Shout out to my mom and dad, and shout out to my wonderful teammates.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Mixture. Congratulations on the hot start here in your Twilight group. And best of luck in the rest of your matches. We'll be keeping an eye on you and everybody else who are out this entire season of the ACL. We'll be playing on Mondays and Fridays for the entire season. So make sure you're back here on Monday. Same bat time, same bat Twitch channel, 8 Eastern. We're going to have regular season best of threes for the entire regular season. We're going to have each and every match day covering at least one hype matchup. So definitely stay tuned to the Aegis Discord, the Aegis Twitter, the Aegis Twitch channel. Find out who we're going to be covering and tune on in weekly. For that, That's going to do it for our first week here. Shout out once again to Zen Market. Reminder that is code Aegis for 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. Code Aegis25 for 25% off your first purchase. From myself, Quacks, Sean, and Caddy on production, thank you all for hanging out with us on Halloween. Enjoy the rest of the holiday, and we will see you guys on Monday.
Bro, just use Zen Market.